Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
I want the people to know that they still have 2 out of 3 branches of the podcast working for them, and that ain't bad.
It's a good line.
It's a really good line. Hello, everybody. My name's Griffin Newman.
David Sims.
This is a podcast.
Go ahead.
We still have one of the branches of the podcast working for us.
Sure. Yeah.
It's called Blank Check with Griffin and
David. He's doing flourishes. He doesn't usually do flourishes.
I'm getting fancy. We
got a fancy guest, so we got to do fancy.
He's the mayor of
flourishes.
podcasting, and we need to let him know that everything's on the up and up in this studio.
I wore a tie.
Ben wore a tie.
Ben is tied up.
He's dressed. He's looking pretty natty today. I mean, Ben is
That looks
into
good.
fashion.
That's true.
Our guest today has walked in dressed impeccably.
Well, I mean,
Is your hat deliberately color coordinated to the Spontanea Nation logo?
Yes, it is.
Amazing.
It is.
Unbelievable. I will not say who our guest is, and they will not be able to guess from the question I just asked. He's a very well-dressed
Or
man who
the-
has some connection to Spontanea Nation.
Or there's also going to be the subtle clue in the app will tell you the name of the movie and the guest.
Sure.
But that take that as you will.
Eagle-eyed listeners.
Right. You know,
You have to both listen closely and read closely.
Sure.
We're not going to
you
say
were
our
explaining the concept of our podcast.
guest. Right. The concept of the podcast is, of course, that we are hashtag the two friends. We're two friends. We host a podcast together. It's a competitive advantage. No one else has it going for them.
Right. We're the two friends.
What do we talk about? Kind of irrelevant. I mean, honestly, at that point.
Well, right. Well, but we decided to talk about something. But we are the two friends. We could have talked about anything, and we would be running the game.
Right.
Obviously.
We have a utility patent on that. It's proprietary.
Uh-huh.
And we could honestly just license that concept out and let the dollars roll in.
Right.
But we decided to talk about filmographies.
Mm-hmm.
Directors who have massive success early on in their career, given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they are incinerated into a green skeleton.
Very disturbingly. And they alarmed 10-year-old David in the theater.
This movie
Very
freaked
alarming.
me the fuck out.
I was not ready to see this movie. We can talk about it.
This is one of the first movies I consciously chose to see, even though I knew it would scare me. I'm a little baby boy, in every sense.
Sure.
I was young when this movie came out.
Sure.
And my dad wanted to see it. He was looking to win me over because he wanted to see it, and he knew, like, well, I can 2 birds with 1 stone, take care of my kids, and see this movie.
Sure.
So he was trying to convince me to go see it, and he had his friend who had seen the movie call me up on the phone and describe all the scariest moments.
Oh.
So I also knew all the disturbing imagery.
Sounds worse.
Yeah.
Like someone called you up. How old? You're like 7 years old.
I was 7 years old.
It's like, so, guy's going to turn into a skeleton 40 minutes in.
A 42-year-old friend of my father's picked up the phone, talked to a 7-year-old.
I don't mean to alarm you, but
For like
Glenn
half an
Close
hour.
is crushed by a chandelier.
Truly described every death like that. I was like, so what does it look like when they die? It's like they turn to a skeleton, it's either green or red.
Sure.
What are the other deaths? A chandelier.
Sure.
The hand comes off. It
Right.
rips through
Punches
his
through
chest.
his heart,
All
right.
these things were described to me, and all of them sounded terrifying, but they also sounded so bizarre that I then became drawn to see the movie because I couldn't imagine what they looked like.
Yeah, right. Sure.
felt like-
Having that described does not sound like, oh yeah, of course,
Right.
skeleton, like most movies,
When
right?
you're
When
like
they
a-
get shot, they turn
right.
into a red skeleton.
When you're like a kid and they read like spooky Halloween stories in school, and most of them are just like, and he was a ghost. And then every once in a while, there's the one about the woman with the handkerchief around the neck, and you're like, this is too much. Still not introducing our guest. Would you like to say
ribbon.
something? It was a velvet ribbon. Jesus Christ.
Handkerchief.
It'd be weird if it was a handkerchief, because then someone would literally be like, hey, can I borrow your handkerchief?
I don't
gotta
think the
sneeze.
story would be nearly as enduring if it had been a handkerchief.
Right.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Well, then the rudeness would just be like, it's rude to ask, like, what's up with the velvet ribbon around your neck? But it's not rude to
That's
ask,
a stylistic choice. You
Right.
wouldn't be like, why are you wearing that?
Right.
But a handkerchief.
can I borrow your handkerchief, please? And they're like, no!
But if the story was set during Christmas time, everyone would be asking to borrow the velvet ribbon as well. Just being like, I got this wrapped
That's a
up.
really good point.
That's true.
That's a really
Where's
good
my
point.
bow? Can I just borrow that for 1 second?
Yeah.
For 1 week until the
Right.
gift is
It will
open, and
be
then I'll return
returned.
it back.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm giving this gift to someone who always saves the wrapping.
Yeah.
I can retrieve this and get it back to you.
Don't you find it to be like a burden when someone gives you something that is too well wrapped? and you don't want to just like rip into it. You feel like you have to show some respect for the artistry of the rapping.
Yeah, it is sort of it's sort of a power move.
It is a power move.
Yeah.
It's like, I want you to know how much time I put into this and how little consideration you're going to put into taking it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a sister who does the double wrapping. My half sister does the double wrapping.
You have a half sister?
Yeah.
This has
Wait, we
never
have a
come
sister
up.
who does double wrapping.
She does double wrapping to make up, I guess, for
Wait,
the,
okay,
no.
so that evens out. That evens out to one full sister, right? If it's a half sister with double
Right,
wrapping,
she double wraps. No, yeah,
she's
yeah.
one full.
What is double wrapping?
Like, so you've got a beautifully wrapped present. She's very artful with the wrapping. You open the wrapping. What is beneath? Like a box wrapped in tissue paper. Like, it's like there is a new layer of wrapping for you to contend with before you will see. Yeah, I don't know. And it's always the same, like, perfect colored tissue paper. You know, every gift is the same. Like, it's always very, very arranged. It's very nice. But it's a lot of wrapping. I don't know.
It's wasteful.
I can't believe you have a sister, and this is
Half
never.
sister, yes. But
double wrapping once again, which evens out to one full
There's
sister.
a reason I don't bring her up.
Why?
She lives in England. So Paul doesn't know. And we're not introducing him yet, but Paul doesn't know that I grew up in England. I spent most of my young life in England. I moved there when I was 9.
Okay, you moved there when you were 9.
9 years old.
Okay.
Yep. And
It comes up a lot.
And I left when I was 22. It comes up a lot because a lot of my formative years were spent there.
Paul, our guest, who I haven't introduced, who is connected to Spontaneous Nation and dresses well.
Sure.
You're a comedian.
Yeah.
You understand a great bit.
I understand it.
Be weird if you said no.
I get why we have them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
The key, the thing that separates the bit amateurs from the great bitsmen and bitswomen of the world,
That's right.
is knowing when to leave the bit, knowing when to hang it up from the rafters and retire it.
Crucial.
You hit it, I don't know, 47 to 68 times
And
and
then
you get
quit
out
it.
clean, right?
Hit it 47 to 68 times, then quit it.
You wrap it in tissue paper. You wrap it in a second layer of wrapping.
That's
you put
right.
it on the shelf.
So David has this very convoluted bit that he moved to England when he was 9 and lived there for a number of years and constantly wants to reference everything through the prism of the fact that he did it when he was in England.
Like, I saw that movie in England, or I met that person
Oh,
in England.
I see,
you
I
know,
see, I see.
I don't. You
Right.
may not know this, but I'm from England.
We
I
gracefully
have a
hit this bit
passport.
for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loved it, and we said, let's get out while the getting's good, while this hasn't gotten old.
Yeah.
We retired it, and David continues to bring it up every single episode.
Right. They retired it because literally people in my life who don't even listen to this stupid podcast will now, when I say something about, like, oh, in England, they'll be like, England? You grew up in England? So they retired it. I thought out of compassion. But,
Now, to be fair to David,
Mhm.
he tried not to
that's true.
mention it.
He did
That's
just
true.
say he was trying on the
And you were raking me over the coals for having a relative.
But to be fair to Griffin, you could have mentioned his sister way earlier.
Thank
He
This is
browbeats
weird.
me,
You've been
though.
doing this for such a long time.
For
and
such a
just
long
now
time.
found
We-
out.
Like 4 years?
It's like 4 years.
Jesus Christ.
We've been friends for 5 years. You never mentioned your sister.
All right. Well, I'm sure I have. Maybe not. I don't
No.
know. Half sister, double wrapping.
Wow.
The movie's Mars Attacks.
Our guest
The
today is
guest
Paul F.
Paul
Tompkins.
Hi.
The great Paul F. Tompkins is here.
Oh, yeah.
Paul, not
Knocking
only
his water over.
but this
my
is of
water
course a
over.
miniseries about the films of Tim Burton, as you know from everything we've been talking about this episode.
Right.
It's called Podward Scissorcast,
Of course.
and this is the episode on Mars Attacks.
Yep.
Now, you had not seen this film before,
No.
but also said you thought it was maybe the only film of his you hadn't seen.
Yeah, I'm a Tim Burton fan, and I've liked pretty much all of his movies that I have seen,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of that Planet of the Apes movie. I really didn't like at all.
No one
full
really.
agreement.
No one ever speaks up for that one.
I
really.
wasn't that crazy about Big Fish either.
I like
it
it.
has,
Some
it
people
has
speak up
its
for that
fans.
one.
It has
Sure,
its fans. But
Did you see the Wonderland picture?
I saw it on a plane.
Yeah,
That one I knew. I was like, well, this isn't really for me.
correct.
And there were some parts in it that I enjoyed.
But this seems like a film that would be for you. This is sort of the last of his like pure comedies.
Yes. I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't see this when it came out.
Yeah.
But I watched it today, and I must say I straight up loved this movie.
I think this one's the best.
It
It
is
really
pretty great.
surprised me. It
Yeah.
really surprised.
Sure.
I for some reason I thought, I guess because it didn't do that well.
It was kind of a flop.
Yeah, and I thought, well, this is probably not good.
It's
and
so-
I really enjoyed it.
Well, I think watching this movie now also is just a trip where you're like, Jesus, everyone in this movie is like so famous.
Yes.
Like there's that sort of like delightful Like, here's Danny DeVito for 2 scenes here, right? Like,
Yeah.
Well, and there's a weird balance of like people in the movie who hadn't reached their peak level of fame
You got your
yet.
Jack Blacks.
Natalie Portman was just sort of starting
Your Natalie
out.
Portmans.
Even Christina Applegate is like married with children, but she's not as much of a movie star back then.
Yep.
Then you have the people who are like on the other side of it, where you have like Paul Winfield and Rod Steiger.
Yeah. Rod Steiger especially.
Jack Nicholson playing 2 roles.
Yes.
For no particular
For no reason.
For no reason.
Yeah.
No reason.
They don't meet.
They don't meet. It's not like, oh, so is he going to end up impersonating the president at some point?
There's no like
they're
thematic.
completely separate the whole time.
Do you want the full story? Here's the full story on why Jack Nicholson played 2 roles.
I would love to
We
know.
are connoisseurs of context.
We're connoisseurs of
Griffin, got some
context.
I guess.
Timmy and Jack, old friends from the Bartman days, right?
Which I completely forgot
Right.
about
Yes.
because I remember when the movie started thinking, how did Jack Nicholson agree to do this?
Yes.
And it's like, oh, that's right, Batman.
Right,
If he
and-
agreed to do that.
Yes.
He did agree to do that. I think for a sizable sum of money.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I believe he was the highest paid actor of
Yeah,
all time
sure.
at that
But
point.
I mean, he still agreed to do
He
it.
showed up for it though.
did. He showed up.
He did not like he didn't Jor-El it. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm going to work for this money. Don't worry.
he definitely has more screen time than Michael Keaton. I mean, that's one of those movies where
Yeah,
like they knew the villain was played by such a colossal megastar that they'd give so much villain backstory.
Yeah, right.
There's so much of him in his office planning his next attack.
Right.
Like, he's in it a lot.
Yeah.
But I always kind of forget that they work together because the first Batman feels like there's a Tim Burton movie and then there's a Jack Nicholson movie.
Yeah,
like it's a
it
movie
does.
that's switching between
Yeah.
like when Jack Nicholson's in a scene, it's a Jack Nicholson movie that he's
he's in
like
charge.
owning. He's
Right.
the auteur of
The
those
first
scenes.
Batman feels like his movie a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas
Right.
Batman Returns, that's the Burton-y Batman movie
Yes.
a little more, maybe.
But he, wants to make this movie, knows it's going to be really expensive, knows that they need to fill the cast with big stars. Like, if I can get a mega A-list legend at the top of the call sheet, that helps things a lot. So he sends the script to Jack Nicholson, and he goes, any of these characters jump out to you? Are there any of these that you want to play? And Nicholson's response is, I want to play all of them. And they're like, we'll give you 2.
Why not let him do them all?
So that was the honest was he wanted to play like as many as they would let him
He
play.
wanted to do like a Peter Sellers.
Yeah, he was like, I'll do 6, 7.
I mean, there's a Doctor Strangelove vibe.
Yeah,
I guess he's
for
picking
sure.
up on that.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So,
but 2 is almost the weirdest number because Doctor
Yeah.
Strangelove
It is.
Sellers does like 5.
no, he does 3. He does 3.
He does 3.
Yeah.
He's the president.
He's the president.
He's Doctor
he's
Strangelove,
Dr.
and then there's the
Strangelove,
guy.
and he's the
right,
other guy.
Okay, yeah, the other guy, the famous other guy.
The one
No,
where
wait. He does.
Wait, all right. Now I gotta look.
He's
it
the
up.
president.
Yeah,
He's Dr. Strangelove. He's the military guy.
Yeah, he's like the
The
assistant to the Ripper.
he is the title card that says
That's
the end
right.
at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
he
he's
contorted his body into doing it.
Lionel Mandrake.
Thank
That's when
you.
he's
Yeah.
just being Peter Sellers.
Yes.
He's got the
God.
accent. Yeah.
Everyone does their Lionel Mandrake impressions at parties and just kills.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
wipes the
imagine
table.
like, let's do a 3-person costume. I'll be Dr.
Right.
Strangelove. He'll be the president. You could be Lionel Mandrake.
I feel like 3 is
That's not a bad idea.
right.
3, I feel like, is the number. Like when Eddie Murphy does a comedy where he plays multiple
Sure.
characters, it's 3.
Well, and if it's more than 3, you might be watching the wrong Eddie Murphy movie. Right.
Like the Clumps, he did an entire family, right?
When he's getting to clump scale, maybe Eddie should have pared it down.
That scene is a masterwork. That one dinner table scene in the first movie.
In the first movie, yeah. Oh, yes.
The
Yes.
thing I trip out on all the time with that movie, which I have never seen, by the way.
Uh-huh.
You've never
is-
seen
I've never seen
any
a
clump.
No,
Yes.
I think I saw the first Nutty Professor movie. Yes. Is the fact that he would commit to all of that makeup
Mhm.
multiple times.
Yes.
Like that's a drag.
That's a real
nightmare.
drag.
That's a
Right.
drag.
That's a
It
drag.
seems so
And
annoying.
Like to do it once would be like, I can't wait till this is over. But
the
yeah,
other
I'll play
thing-
an entire family.
And also, none of those are easy. Like something like
No.
Norbit, where he's playing like a couple characters. Like one of them is just him with a wig and glasses.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Like he's
right,
got his
right.
home base where like Norbit
Yeah.
is just kind of him, and then he's got 2 that require more time.
Yeah.
But like his normal guy in Nutty Professor also requires a fat suit.
Do you think he loves it? Like, is it possible? Because he did it
Apparently.
so many times.
Well, and like
Like
Rick,
he's got a latex fetish.
Right.
Oh,
Like the
man,
first
I
time they
can't
put those
wait.
cheeks on,
Yeah.
those jowls.
Can't wait to have that goo poured on my face. Put those straws in my nose.
Like Rick Baker will talk about him a lot, and it like sounds like Rick Baker's like the one good working relationship he has.
They,
Because everyone else who's
they
worked with
still
Eddie Murphy
can like shoot the shit.
has just been like, he's a lot. But he makes it sound like Eddie Murphy is like Lon Chaney, where he like loves the artistry of the whole thing. Like he lives for it.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Have either of you ever done that? Gotten the goop on your face?
Yeah.
You did the goof for what?
I liked it. I did it for
You got gooped?
a sketch on a show called the Stephanie Miller Show.
Okay.
This is so long ago.
I'm looking this up.
And I played Richard Nixon. And
Sure.
they made a mask of my
wow.
they took a mold of my face to make prosthetics like the jowls and stuff. And it was, I thought I was going to be freaked out by it, and I loved it.
Yes.
Because anytime that is happening, you are free from all responsibilities.
You can't be rude.
Even like small talk. Like you
Right,
can't,
right.
you just like, you're shut out from the world, and it's like a weird little
Did
vacation.
it feel kind of like a
meditative,
spa?
right.
sort
Yeah, it
of
was
like
meditative.
facial
Right.
thing?
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
see that. All right.
Absolutely. And
I-
people talk to you in a very soothing way.
sure.
You know, they're
Okay,
like,
we're gonna
here's what we're going to
add
do. Yeah.
your
Like,
left jowl.
I'm leaving the room for 1 second. I have to get something. I'm going to come back. It's so, there's something that's very reassuring about it.
All right.
They just do
So
the.
maybe that's
the
Eddie Murphy's comp.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
zero. Yeah.
They just do the scan now. I think they almost never do the pour
Wow,
to get the
wow.
mold. Because
Sure they
I had
don't.
to get
Right,
it done for the tick for all the stuff
Yeah.
they have to build around my head, the helmet and everything.
Yeah.
And I've done 2 or 3 times, and it's very tedious, but it's like they put you on like a lazy Susan.
Yeah.
And some guy sits on the floor and rotates you.
Like an MRI kind of situation?
And
where-
you're just like sitting there and they're like, stay neutral. And the guy's holding like a bone density scanner type thing, like a hand scanner.
Wow.
And you see your face form in a computer. And on one hand, I'm like, I guess I'm lucky. I missed the window of having to do the face scoop. But on the other hand, I don't really feel like an actor without having lived through one face scooping.
Right.
I just like, I imagine you had this thing as a kid where you're just like, well, there's certain things that like signify like I'm a real showbiz professional.
Oh, yeah. I got squibbed for the first time recently.
That feels like a real showbizy thing. Yeah.
Honestly, that was my first, the overriding feeling was
Yeah.
like, this feels like Hollywood to me.
Right.
When I was a kid watching behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff, this feels really cool. And like to get the compliment from the stuntman who is like,
right.
you really acted that. That was great. You know, because their thing is, and I gathered this from, like, I've been around stuntman very few times in my career. It's like comedy. There's not a, you know, there's every once in a while there's some like weird thing that you have to do. But
very rarely does someone make an $80 million alien invasion comedy with tons of stunts and effects.
You never have to do anything physical that ever gets that involved where they're like,
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Where they're like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
do
I
this.
also
Don't
think
do
it's
this.
easier
Right.
when it's like comedy stunt stuff because it requires a little less precision.
Yeah,
like if
right.
you're trying to make things look cool
yeah,
or powerful
exactly.
or impressive,
Exactly.
the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It becomes
Verisimilitude.
no. It's like the math of it becomes like
Oh,
very
I see.
precise.
Yeah,
the
I see.
angles
I
to
see.
make
Right,
things
right,
look like
right.
they're
You're going to need to
connecting.
choreograph it right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas,
Whereas if
with
you're just
comedy,
jumping
you
out of like
kinda
a
just
sugar
sell-
glass
if you know how to
window.
be funny, you
Right.
can just sort of
Yeah.
sell. It's,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
cross your eyes, you
Yeah.
make a fart,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and it works. Yeah.
But for this, the guy, you know, I had to get shot and fall to my knees and then die, you know. And I had to I get shot a couple times. The first bullet like hits me in my shoulder and turns
So
me
you're
around
right,
to
you're
face the
moving.
camera.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then I get shot in the chest and then I collapse. And I was so pleased that I got the approval of the stunt guy
did
because
the
I think
spin right.
I think they think like actors can't act this stuff.
Right. They haven't been shot
They
like
can
we
they
have.
can act crying and stuff, but they can't do this sort of thing. This is where we come in.
I would be afraid to do that.
I every time I like get a stuntman's approval, like the recognition thumbs up,
Yeah.
it feels like the jocks on the football team are telling me I'm pretty funny.
100%.
Right.
100%.
You could like hang with us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, like for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you did
Yeah.
a pretty good job. I melt. It's like my father saying that I caught a ball well, you know?
Did your father never say that you caught balls?
There was
well?
one time I scored a goal in soccer and my dad talked about it for 8 years. And I was like, I've done a ton of school plays.
Sure.
many, and you came to them. And your only compliment would be like, you remembered your lines. It's a lot of lines.
Important to do.
Yeah.
Good to note that you did
True.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
And he was following along with the script the whole time.
He was.
All right, so Mars Attack. So Burton in general. You like Tim Burton?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
were
yeah.
just
Since Pee-wee's Big
You mean,
Adventure,
right,
I've always
you've
been a
been
fan. Yeah.
that early. But so have you stuck with Burton's? Did you see like Big Eyes? Did you see?
Yeah, I saw
Miss
Big Eyes.
Peregrine.
That one I haven't seen.
Sure.
But you're a guy who tours a lot. You're traveling a
you're on
lot.
the
I'm saying if
plane.
you're on a plane,
Yeah.
there's a Burton you haven't seen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
might
yeah.
catch it there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I usually I'll screeners. Like I watched
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd on a screener
Sweeney
when that
Todd's
came
good.
out.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff in Sweeney Todd. I mean, I
I'm
think
a big
that
fan. Yeah.
I think that I liked Sleepy Hollow. A lot of people didn't like that.
We like Sleepy
Like it.
Hollow.
I
on this
really enjoyed that
podcast.
movie. I thought it was a lot of fun.
That
you know?
movie is very fun.
Yeah.
And it's like a slasher movie for
Yeah.
British character actors.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that movie's special.
This does feel like
this movie's kind of like that too, where you're kind of like, no one would ever make this now. Like,
No.
Oh my God, no.
Jesus,
No.
like I can't believe they made this thing.
No, and I feel like when people talk about what a Tim Burton movie is today,
Mm.
a lot of times it's reduced to the surface elements of like, here's a loner, the suburbs are weird,
Sure.
Yeah.
the aesthetics, the spirals and the stripes and all that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff. But this is the last movie that, like, in the mode of what put him on the map with like Pee-wee and Beetlejuice, feels like a full Tim Burton movie where it's like, here's all the elements.
Yeah.
Here's everything in it together. It's like a comedy, but it's also a high genre thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all the influences of all the pop culture he like absorbed.
Right. It's very, very like a 60s sort of Gen X-y
Fun
kind of
ensemble
outlook.
cast, like, balancing all these different tones of performance. There is an underlying like emotional sincerity to it. Like the thing I found, I was going back and reading reviews of this movie, and everyone, not everyone, but this movie is like pretty trash when it came out.
I think,
And most of the reviews said like, it just feels like he doesn't even give a shit. Like they were like, this movie feels
Wow.
really snarky. Like he's
Wow.
just riffing on these things and he doesn't care.
because
I find that very surprising.
I think it's a very sincere film.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a flippancy to it, but mostly in like the destruction. But I don't think it's insincere. Like
No.
it's very sincere
Well,
flippancy.
and there's a weird like, I like that he makes the Martians like weird nihilists. Like they're like
Yeah.
punk kids throwing
Sure.
like rocks at cops,
right.
Where it's just like they get so much joy out of destroying stuff, and that's the only thing that's driving them.
They
Yeah.
have They have no other motivation. You never
No.
learn anything about them.
But they're humanoid and they're speaking in dialogue and they're emoting, so you
Right.
get the sense of like, unlike the aliens in like Independence Day,
Or
where you're
like
like
War of
these
the
are just
Worlds.
creatures,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
can't connect to what
They're
they're
just like a
doing, what their
virus.
reasoning
Right.
is.
I did turn on the subtitles because I was curious how it would be represented.
Right.
Ack, ack,
And
ack.
it is just ack, ack, ack.
Yeah.
Which and that made me laugh. But they the idea that that the movie is about
Lay it out for us.
the people of Earth continuing to trust
Yes.
these
Yes.
monsters
These
again
horrifying
and again and
things.
again. It was making that the idea when I realized that's like because there was a point where I was like, I think this is what's going to happen,
Yes.
and I hope this is what's going to
It
happen.
never stops.
And then it happened, and then I was like, oh, I am fucking in.
Yeah.
Completely. This is great.
The amount of time they spend going like, okay, the dove was the problem.
Yeah. This time now, I think we figured out. This is going to be great.
So your favorite gag in the movie is the French president calling, being like, "It's fine.
oh,
We're meeting
so
with them
good.
now.
So
It's
good.
And Nicholson on the phone just
Yeah.
being like-
Genuinely worried.
Right.
Yeah.
All it takes
Jock, get out of there.
all it takes is one cut away from Jacques. Like you
Yeah.
see him in the boardroom, everything's very civil.
Yeah.
They cut back to Nicholson, and when they cut back, everyone's incinerated. The Eiffel Tower's on fire.
That they would go to the trouble
Yes.
of making them think that they were going to have a peace conference.
Yes. Right.
That they would have, like sit at little tables and stuff like that and then kill them.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Well, and that's the thing I
boy.
really like about this movie is, and I know you and I disagree on this thing, but the thing that this kind of reminds me of is like Shaun of the Dead.
Sure.
Where it's like what I find funny about this movie, but also weirdly scary about this movie is
Right.
this is how I believe real people would actually act in
Right.
these circumstances.
Shaun of the Dead, it just, I mean, which I don't, it's not like I dislike the movie,
Right.
but it's too, I get too upset. It's too upsetting.
Yes.
Like when
Right.
shit gets real. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
And they're
But-
stuck in the bar and they're, yeah.
The two biggest jokes in this movie that I think are so effective, and I think do show a kind of keen insight into the human condition. I mean, this is when he's still making movies about human behavior
Sure.
and not just his own like quirks, right? One, that the humans keep on trying to rationalize what's happening.
Right.
Like they're in a movie and they can solve this narratively.
Yeah.
And two, that everyone makes it about themselves. That it's like a movie about an ensemble cast of narcissists.
Yeah.
When we're so used to these like ensemble alien invasion movies where it's like slowly but surely the skeleton crew is assembled from all these different satellite plot lines and they become the 6 people who can stop it.
Right.
And it's everyone trying to go like, I think I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think this is about me.
Yeah.
And I can fix this. And everyone's wrong the whole movie.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And Lucas Haas, who's like the one who saves the day, is like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people did more than I did. Because he hasn't been watching the movie and doesn't realize that he's the only person who's done like selfless things the entire film.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he's got like no sort of like delusions of being a hero.
Right.
He just kind of likes his grandma. Like,
Who's a great lady. Juno from Beetlejuice.
I do also think this is kind of the best cast of all time. Like,
It's amazing.
It's
I
a hell
look
of
at
a
the ensemble
cast.
cast, the diversity of it, the breadth of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
There's people that are doing some fun against typecasting. Michael J. Fox,
Yeah.
you know,
So good in it.
Playing a creep.
playing a creep. He
Yeah.
never ever did it.
No.
Never. This
I
is the
know.
only time, right? And he's like
definitely.
and he's great, and he's enjoying
great.
it, and and he commits to it.
And he dies. Like imagine sitting him down and being like, you're gonna
So
be
early.
you're gonna be an asshole. You got 3 scenes.
Yeah.
You
He's in the
yell at
first
your
30 minutes like a
girlfriend.
lot
Yeah,
proportionately.
he's,
and then he's like
you
the
die
third guy
and
who gets
she
shot.
like has your hand. That's it. You're
Maybe
dead.
it's like after. Oh, he did Bright Lights, Big City too.
Yeah.
but
he
maybe
would-
it's like
but even that he
He's
plays
still being
at night.
charming
yeah,
in
that's
that.
true.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's sort of the problem.
He
with
is the
that.
protagonist, and
Right.
yeah. But maybe it was like, okay, I'll be this jerk. That'll be fun. But when do I get killed?
Right. I
It's
can
gotta
only
be-
give you this much.
If I get killed early on, then it won't stick,
yeah, right.
and I won't get stuck playing jerks
Yes.
forever.
It is also one of these movies where they set up so many characters and there's so many big people, from like massive movie stars of the moment to people who are on the rise to people who are just kind of recognizable as like, oh, that guy or her kind of character actors, that I do feel like it's one of the movies like this where you're like, I genuinely can't put my chips down on who's going to make it at the end.
No,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
right.
Like you could just as likely see Michael J. Fox riding it through.
Absolutely.
You know, especially because like it throws out any notion of like, well, this character is presented as a
sympathetic
dick.
X,
This character is
right,
presented
yeah.
as sympathetic.
Right.
You know they're going to be the hero.
Here's the other thing, though. Danny DeVito, and I like billing. I like to think about billing
Above the title.
posters, things
It's
like this.
fun. It's fun to think about.
Yeah.
And Danny DeVito he's above the poster with Nicholson and Glenn Close and Annette Bening and Pierce Brosnan. Danny DeVito. He plays a character called Rude Gambler.
Doesn't have a name.
He's in two scenes.
They set him up so early where you're like, well, this is a thread we're going to keep on coming back to.
Rude Gambler is the name of the character. And like here, they didn't put like Sarah Jessica Parker or Michael J. Fox or
Even Ned Beatty's character had a name in Network.
Yeah, yes. I mean, like,
Rude Network boss.
Yelling man.
you're a man who's worked as a character actor for a number of years.
Sure.
I'm sure you've had your auditions and booked your roles with names like that. Rude
absolutely.
Gambler, surly bartender.
Absolutely.
And you're
yeah.
like, and I'm fifth billed. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm above the poster. right?
Guarantee that I'm above the title, right?
Like Jim Brown is a very famous athlete who's kind of the main
He's
character.
kind of the hero of the picture.
Yeah.
But Rude Gambler had to be up there.
Gambler.
And I also I'm seeing this as a 7-year-old, right? So
Sure.
for me, the people I know are famous are people like Danny DeVito, where Danny DeVito in the 90s was just omnipresent. And
He was like Robin Williams, where he was like a type of a person. Like
doesn't
when
matter
you're a
if
kid.
you've never
Right.
seen
Yeah,
a Danny DeVito
exactly.
movie or you never seen an episode of Taxi. You know Danny DeVito. Everyone makes jokes about Danny DeVito. He looks so great.
Right.
He's just like, he's fun. He's
I
going to
agree.
show
I
up.
love
but,
Danny. To be clear,
Yeah.
I think he's great as Rude Gambler.
But I just
think he's
remember,
very good at being rude.
Papa needs a new pair of shoes. He rolls the dice. I turn to my dad and I go like, now we're in business. I'm watching a Danny DeVito picture.
But like lines of dialogue under 10, right?
Barely 6.
5?
Yeah.
He gives Tom Jones a compliment
Yeah.
before he dies, I
Right.
think.
And he is fully not in the movie for 90 minutes.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
he's
you
in the
completely forget about
first 5, he shows up 90 minutes later
it.
and
You
then
think
dies
it's a
within 2
cameo?
minutes.
Yes,
You think it's
you
a cameo.
absolutely think it's a
You're
cameo.
like, oh, it's Tim's friend. He's going to be in
Yeah.
Dumbo later,
But he's like above the title, and it was also one of those posters where it was like the main artwork was the aliens, but then it had the little boxes of the actors.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, here's
And
some
Danny's
familiar
up there
face.
with his
He's
hat.
in there with his hat. wearing a hat. The role of Rude Gambler.
the head of a rude gambler.
Yeah.
this guy won't take his hat off.
You feel like
this piece of shit Rude Gambler.
You feel like he just as easily could have played the second Nicholson villain role. Like he could have played the
Certainly.
casino owner.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like a total Dan DeVito part.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm
could
glad
play-
Nicholson played it though.
Oh, me too.
It's
Certainly.
really funny.
It's crazy that he did that. And he was like, make me up a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think
I'm
it was
still
his
Jack
idea
Nicholson.
to have the hair attached to the hat?
Yes, 100%. That's a Nicholson
That's
joke.
very funny.
He's going
Oh,
like
boy.
hog wild in this movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he was coming out of like a somewhat austere period.
Bit of a slump because he'd been in things like Wolf was his last big
Right.
movie.
Oh, my
The
God.
Crossing Guard was before.
Crossing
Right, like he's making
Guard.
like
shit.
serious.
So you wanted to have some fun.
Hoffa,
Yeah. Right,
you
I
know,
think
like
he wanted
those,
to, like-
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me shake out the sillies.
And I was like going
and
through
then
reading.
next year is as good as it gets.
Right.
And Jack is back.
Which was as good
You know.
as it ever got.
Sure.
For America.
Right.
But I was going back and reading like
That
a lot
was
of
it. No,
press.
you don't
That was
agree?
it. That was
Interesting.
me.
It's an interesting theory.
Yeah. Hear me out on this one. Pre-Whitewater, you know? It was a different time. It was an innocent time. Pre-Whitewater. That was the best it ever got.
That was when everything turned.
The innocents died.
Oh, Whitewater.
America was 100% innocent until Whitewater.
That's
We're
right.
relitigating Whitewater?
Yes.
That's the okay. All right. Okay. What were you going to say?
No, I was
about
going
Jack
back reading
Nicholson?
so much press from when this movie
Oh, sure.
came out because it was hyped up as like, this is one of the big movies of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Warner Brothers has let Tim Burton make a like $80 million star-driven,
Sci-fi action movie.
Right.
Yeah.
and especially,
comedy.
right, and
It's based on Topps trading cards, which box office guarantee.
in a time where people didn't cravenly make movies off of every non-narrative
Sure.
piece of IP.
It's true, right?
It
now,
seemed
if
kind
Warner
of
Brothers is
weird
like,
that it was
"There's-
based off
remember those
trading
trading cards? It's like 5 movies. We're
Doesn't
going to do.
Doesn't it even say like there's a weird? It's worded weirdly in the opening credits.
It's
Yes.
It says Tops
it
for
says
sure.
Topps, like,
Inspired by the trading card line
I
created
think it
by...
like says property. I
Oh,
swear,
oh,
I
it might
feel
say
like the word
property.
property.
It might.
is in there.
manufactured might be in there.
Find it.
I know the Transformers movies have that where they go inspired by the toy line manufactured by Hasbro. Which is always so off-putting.
You got to give it up to the manufacturers.
You gotta.
Yeah.
You gotta. But yes. Well, here's the weird incubation of this movie. This trading card line, I think, was sort of a formative thing for a lot of people of that generation because it was really upsetting.
Yeah, it was
because
weird.
the iconography was really upsetting. And a lot of the creepiest imagery in this movie.
I'm sorry. How
comes from
old is that?
It's like
is that
70s?
Let me look it up. I actually just you can find them online and
Yeah.
read them all. Like there were only so many of them.
They're
you can
beautiful.
Sort of flip through.
So
them. They are cool.
It's essentially a story told in trading cards.
yeah, it's like Martians attack. Here's what they
It's
do.
not a
then we
really
fight back.
strong narrative. It doesn't have human
Oh, it's not?
protagonists.
I don't want to burst anyone's bubble here. 1962.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, so
wow.
but they're cool. They're
right.
cool.
I mean, the
they're
design
weird.
of the Martians is incredible.
You know?
And you have your sort of generic ones like this, but things like
Yeah.
the burning cows.
Yeah,
Right.
the burning
like that
cows
comes
are in
straight
there.
from the cards.
Yes.
And I
God.
think a lot of people grew up with them, had these images burned in their mind of like, these were really upsetting.
Yeah, that
I
is
kind of-
upsetting for
right.
trading cards.
They were eventually like Topps recalled them because they were like too gross.
Right.
Yeah.
And it
Wow.
predated sort
So
of
they
wacky
became this sort of
packages
cult
and Garbage
thing,
Pail
right.
Kids and all those things that then became bigger in the 80s.
And they were not supposed to be funny. They were supposed to be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
They're
It was-
cool.
It was like a
Yeah.
comic book in
Yes.
card form.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Right.
and the Martians are creepy. They're
Yeah.
big brained skeleton
There,
things.
it's the character design is so good.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
But I think it was, they're sort of riffing off the 60s B sci-fi movies
Yes.
of the time, but because it wasn't a movie and they didn't have to like abide by the MPAA,
Yeah.
they got really intense, the cards.
Right.
You know? So I think people had these sort of like burned into their brain nightmare images of it.
Right.
In the 80s, Alex Cox tries to make a movie of this.
Right.
Like
right.
post
Coming off
Repo Man.
sure.
Really?
Yeah, Sid and Nancy, he's like, I've wanted to make a Mars Attacks movie.
Here you go. It's based upon Mars Attacks, a property of the Topps company.
So weird.
There you go. And everyone's like, yeah! That's when the theater
of lawyers.
erupts. Yeah, right.
It is screening just for lawyers.
Well
They're thrilled.
described. Yeah.
That is one of those things. I guarantee you, the lawyer for Topps
Right, it was
turned to
like
his
a
wife at the
2-week
premiere, and he was
conversation.
like, "That was my work."
Yeah.
We spent 7 months on the wording
Yeah.
of the title card.
No one could agree.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, so Alex Cox tried to make it. I think you're right.
Who at that point is like a pretty like sort of like subversive, transgressive filmmaker. Isn't trying to make like a big studio like.
Yeah.
But he, I think, has like, has been haunted by these cards for a while. He tries to make it for a while. He can't crack the script. They bring in Martin Amis.
Famed British
American
novelist. No,
Oh,
British
correct,
novelist.
yes.
Hello.
Oh,
Do you want, should I say this? He went to the same school that I went to. I just literally I don't know what to tell you. He actually did. So did his dad, Kingsley Amis.
Ding dong. Ding dong. Yeah, I'll just grab it quickly. That's further than I remember it being. Oh my God. David.
Look at this.
Oh my God. It's the Martian ambassador from Mars Attack. Speak of his ears must have been burning.
He's a friendly guy.
He's a very friendly guy. Let's see. I'm going to hand him over the mic. It looks like he wants to make an announcement.
Oh, Ben, can you turn on the... Oh, I'm glad we have it today. The translator, the Martian translator.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm going to hand him the mic, and then, David, you just translate what he's saying off the translator.
Sure.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm just listening over
Right,
here.
and we're good to go. Yeah.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. While other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees, so you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. Plus, there's no account minimum deposit needed to get started, so you can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. View easy-to-understand charts and market data and place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You can also view stock collections such as 100 most popular. With Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio, discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest.
What a flexible language.
It's interesting that
the
ACK
one
is-
app
that's
was
what
that
ACK
one. I know.
means,
Let
right.
me hand back the mic here.
Yeah. Robinhood is giving listeners a blank check, a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. Sign up at check.robinhood.com.
Check.
Check
No, not check. It's ACK.
Check.robinhood.com for a free stock on Robinhood today.
I want to kick his butt out of here. I know how this movie ends. I ain't no fool, David.
Yeah, good point. So to switch back, Jonathan Gems.
Right, because at that point it's set up at Orion?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Right, and they're
Cool,
like, we're not going to make a
80s
fucking Mars
sci-fi.
Attacks movie. This is like
Right.
sunk
You're
cost.
like, what were we thinking? Jesus.
They give up the rights. Now, 2 weird things happened. One is that when Jurassic Park, the manuscript, starts circulating around Hollywood, the thing hasn't been published yet, but he's with, what's his name? Mr. CAA.
Michael Eisner?
No, King of
Ovitz?
Ovitz,
right.
Because Ovitz represented Crichton.
Sure, Michael Crichton, yeah.
Crichton, who was so prolific, had like writer's block for 3 years.
Okay.
And Ovitz was like, he's working on something really big.
Okay.
It's taken a while, but it's going to be
about
worth
a
it.
sphere.
So he was hyping it up for so long.
Uh-huh.
And then Crichton called him up one day and was like, I finally conquered writer's block. Here's the premise. They make dinosaurs. And he was like, I can sell this tomorrow to everybody. And Crichton then like wrote it in a week. And they immediately went to studios and they were like, here you go. Here's your blockbuster.
Sure.
So they got into a competitive bidding war where every studio had their like top in-house filmmaker presented as their option to make it.
Right.
And Warner Brothers was like, we can get Tim Burton to do
Warner Brothers
Jurassic
Burton
Park.
was Universal with Spielberg, and someone else had Zemeckis, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and I think maybe Joe Dante was in the mix
Sure.
somewhere. And when Spielberg was interested, all the other directors were like, fuck, I'm not even going to try to compete
Right,
with
he
this.
can do it.
But Burton got kind of the idea into the idea of doing a dinosaur movie.
Yeah, like a sci-fi B movie with dinos.
Well, and there was another Topps trading card series at the same time called Dinosaurs Attack.
Similar to Mars Attacks, I believe. Yeah.
So I think Jonathan Gems, who had not gotten a produced credit on a Burton film, but was a guy who was rewriting a lot of Burton's
Yeah,
movies,
he did. He worked
had
on
written
Batman.
Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, the unproduced Beetlejuice sequel,
That's right.
came to him and was like, look, Orion, Sony just gave this thing up. It's in turnaround. Here's the property. They also have a dinosaur thing. This is your chance to make a dinosaur movie. I have a real take on how to do Mars Attacks. We take this iconography, the imagery of the cards, and we put it through the prism of like an Irwin Allen disaster movie.
Right.
It's Towering Inferno. It's Airport. It's here's an ensemble cast of great movie stars, satellite plot lines, everyone reacting to this disaster. Right. And they set it up as like, we're going to do 2 of these. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a dinosaur movie and we're going to do Mars Attacks. Okay. And very quickly, Jurassic Park becomes such a monolith that's like, I shouldn't even try to touch this. Mm-hmm. Let's just do the Mars Attacks movie.
Right.
So Jonathan Gems writes a script and Warner Brothers budgets it at $260 million.
Yeah.
It had 60 primary characters and took place in 12 cities.
So it was like shortcuts, basically.
Yes.
Right.
But shortcuts where every scene cost $40 million.
Wow. And was that just them saying like we could never make this, like that it would cost this much money?
I think he wrote They were just like, this is impossible.
Outrageous. Right.
So Warner Brothers is very committed to doing it. Tim Burton is pretty much set up at Warner Brothers at that point. He occasionally makes a movie somewhere else.
Sure.
He goes off to do Ed Wood, and he's like, look, I'm into doing this. I'd love to do it after Ed Wood because I'm going to be studying all the movies of that era that I'd sort of be referencing.
Making B-movie homage.
Shrink this thing down. Mm-hmm. By the time I'm done with Ed Wood, I come back, I'm ready to make this thing. But so the thing's been in development for a while. They bring on Scott Alexander, Larry Krasuski. They rewrite it. Everyone comes back. Jonathan Gems is like, I wrote like 60 drafts of it. It kept on being like, shrink it down, shrink it down, shrink it down. Sure. They finally get it to like $100 million.
Right. And
the final cost is that he wants to do all the Martian stop motion, which would have cost a ton of money because of the time it would have taken to do that many characters.
Because they're person-sized. It would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And he's like, I like stop motion. I like the handmade feel. It'll feel retro.
I mean, it probably would have been pretty cool.
Right. And one of these like famous last words, they were like, Tim Burton, how about you meet CGI?
Right. Yeah. Welcome. One day you could make some peculiar children with it, perhaps, or a dark shadow.
You barely have to use humans at all. You barely have to show up. It's like genuinely like introducing and he's like Kurt Cobain to Courtney Love.
Right. I guess this is okay.
CGI.
Yeah.
But that cuts the budget down to 80, which is still incredibly high. They get all these big stars attached because everyone wants to work with Tim Burton. And they finally go and start working on this movie, unaware of the fact that Independence Day is being set up at the exact same time.
Right.
So they think, we're doing a sort of throwback parody to this type of movie. We're combining 60s sci-fi movies and we're combining 70s disaster movies. Yeah. And those are the 2 reference points. It's a big, broad, star-driven comedy. Right. And at the same time, they're making a super earnest attempt to modernize that type of film. So everyone can take it at face value again. It's like, now the special effects are amazing and it's patriotic and you believe in the heroism of humanity. And it comes out like 4 months before this and it fucks this movie.
No, it does.
Really?
Yeah, it comes out 4 months before, right? It was July and October.
No, this movie comes out in December.
Oh,
it was
that's
supposed to come out earlier. It was supposed to. It was scheduled as a summer movie, but it took too long.
The effects
took too long.
So it becomes a Christmas
So they push it to Christmas, which is a horrible time to release a movie
like
this. Like it should be coming out in like January or March or something. Right. You know, it's a silly movie.
And everyone wrote it off as like, it's like a insincere, snarky parody of Independence Day, a movie that was made in a vacuum from this film.
Sure. But it is crazy to watch this and think this is not responding to Independence Day in any way. This is its own thing. Came out the same year. Yeah, it was a huge flop.
Wow.
Yeah.
They spent $80 million, $20 million to promote it. It did 37 in the U.S. It did weirdly well overseas, and I feel like it has a better reputation now. Mm-hmm. But all the critics just like fucking butchered it, and they were like, I don't get it. What's the joke? He's just making fun of everything.
Sure. What's there to grab onto?
Right.
I don't know.
But I think it's a movie that's about like, I think there's so many things I latch onto this film where I'm like, that actually feels like the keenest sort of projection of how society would respond to this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even I find the end pretty touching, not to skip all the way, but when Taffy is handing out the Congressional Medals of Honor. And it's like the monuments are broken.
Ruins.
Right. And they have a mariachi band playing the national anthem. But this idea of like, I guess we kind of got to keep up appearances.
Right.
Like it feels like this is how like society would
lovely.
react.
And the fact that Lucas Haas's speech is so terrible.
It's the worst. Maybe we should go back to
T-Piece. A guy who never in his life would be called upon to give a speech. Now has to give a speech, and it's like, I don't know. I gotta say something profound, I guess. And,
right. You compare this movie to Independence Day, which is about
we have to rebuild like our houses and stuff.
Right.
Not society.
Right. Independence Day is about like ordinary Americans rising to the occasion.
Yeah, sure.
And this movie, everyone who rises to the occasion is like, who, me?
Yeah. Can I share with you my big grievance with Independence Day, which
please.
I get this out as many times as I can.
Please.
So you have Randy Quaid's character,
Sure.
he flies the crop duster, right?
Right.
And so when they are looking for volunteers to fly planes to combat the aliens, which we have established the aliens at this point mean us harm.
Right.
They have destroyed
keep blowing up cities.
They keep blowing up a bunch of recognizable landmarks. A thing, by the way, I never get tired of. Yeah. I love that. I don't know why that's so
You're like, what's
enjoyable.
it gonna be? Yeah.
Whoever did that first was really onto something because they knew like people will like this. a famous thing that everyone knows being destroyed.
King Kong, right?
People will like
I
this.
guess.
Maybe it's King
It's like him on the Empire State Building. We're like, look at that building.
Yeah.
It's right over there.
But so Randy Quaid is volunteering to help combat the aliens.
Right.
And so they're talking to everybody. All the pilots are there. They give him a big pep talk, and Randy Quaid is saying, "Yeah, because when those aliens abducted me and they probed me and all that stuff, like I can't wait to get my revenge on them or whatever."
Right.
And everyone around him is like, "Okay, weirdo."
It's like
There
flies
are
in ruins.
There are aliens. Why is his story unbelievable or weird?
Yeah, this old alky.
There are aliens who mean us harm. Why is this crazy?
It's a fair point. They're not. Is it just that he's Randy Quaid? Is it just like Randy?
Well, he's not
Quaid's
playing
talking?
himself.
Well, because Paul, it does come after that big monologue
playing
about the
crazed
Hollywood
crop
Star
duster.
Whackers.
Right.
What the what?
His line about the probing comes right after his monologue about the Hollywood Star Whackers.
Right. He does do 10 minutes on that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, and then he records a sex tape wearing a Rupert Murdoch mask.
This is This was the DVD.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not the theatrical.
This is
peppered
extended
that in.
edition.
Yeah. You know.
Too hot for theaters, R-rated and out of control.
No, they're not nice to him. They should be saying like crop dusters and fighter jets very different. Are you sure? Like it should just be that. It should be a very reasonable questionnaire. These things, they're jet planes.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how to work
That is
them?
more to the point.
Right.
For sure.
And he's like, the aliens probe me, and they're like, that's fine. The alien blew up the city.
I don't doubt it. These aliens are bad news.
I don't like them either.
Do you know how to fly one of these planes?
I lived in New York. Do you know about it's a flame. It's just a fiery circle.
Have you ever seen it's online, but the way they wrote and shot the movie before they were like, this is too fucking much. Because once they're like, does anyone here know how to fly a plane? And he rides up. Right. Suddenly he like sobers up totally. He's up to the occasion. Yeah. He's in the proper like Top Gear, fighter plane, all of that. And he does his heroic move. The original way they shot it, you can find it on YouTube, is he takes his like old, beaten up, like 30-year-old bomber plane,
right,
and he like duct tapes like a missile to it.
Wait, really?
And he's like, I'm going in. Like he's essentially like Slim Pickens in
Doctor
like he
Strange.
never gets heroic. He's just the ridiculous guy who happens to solve.
But this is
He's
the
an insane
Paul's
person
point.
willing to kill himself.
Is that the movie has no like sympathy for him, even though it's about aliens who destroy the Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of then give him the heroic moment, and then there's that thing where they go and like, your dad was a hero, in the control room. But like that character, when they're spending
they only do
so
it after
much,
he's dead.
I know.
They're like, he's dead? Anyway, your dad was a hero.
You watch that movie, and that's like such like precision, like fucking studio filmmaking, storytelling that you're like, okay, this guy's gonna get redeemed in some way.
Yeah.
They're spending so much time on this like drunk butterball.
But that's what it's so weird that Mars Attacks comes out the same year, because in Mars Attacks, they cut to like a trailer park, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be important, and it's not important.
No, and it is
They're
like
the grandma's important.
I also think, not to get too lofty about it, but I feel like this movie is kind of about like the meaningless of death.
Sure.
Like just all these deaths are like totally random. It doesn't matter how much backstory someone's given,
famous you are,
how much wind up you get for the death, how famous you are. It's just like this thing's coming for people, and they're all trying to fight it.
Yeah.
And some of them get a big ending, and some of them are just like collateral damage. Yeah, they can't accept it.
They're just like, I know they look like walking skeletons with big brains, but they must be nice. Like they have a spaceship.
I mean, you saying that when you were like, if the joke of this movie is that they keep on trusting them, I'm in. Right. The other fact, the more detailed thing, that they keep on just doing the sneak attack of pulling the guns out from
Yes!
They keep on doing it.
Like in Congress, he literally does the thing where he sort of wraps the podium. He's like,
it's constantly just reaching under their armpit.
And the great Pierce Brosnan line that is repeated a couple times, that, well, they're more advanced, so
They must be.
Obviously, they must be peaceful.
Right.
Yes.
There's why wouldn't they be?
Right.
We are the barbaric ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're
Right. This translation machine that everyone keeps on going to, and then they end up taking it and just fucking like snarkily using it to repeat
so
"We come in
funny.
peace."
The translation
Stop running.
Yeah. They're just like shitty
We
teenagers.
are your friends.
So
Yeah,
funny.
right.
It's
They're like
so funny.
Like the Martians in this movie are like the people that Ben hung out with in high school.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like they're just like New
I don't know
Jersey
if you know
scum
this,
bums.
but Ben's a ditch person from New Jersey.
Yeah, I
ditch
spent,
person?
Yeah,
I
his
spent
first
a lot
language
of
was
time
ditch
in ditches
language.
growing up in New Jersey. So these are a lot like my friends. Yeah.
Did you see this movie in theater? Like, did you?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah?
Multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I was
Multiple
a big fan.
times.
Yeah. I was a little stinker growing up. I really related to the aliens.
Were you were sort of like a rude gambler type, or
I'm on my way.
okay, sure.
Did
Not
you
yet.
take the Witch Mars Attacks character quiz?
I got the aliens.
This movie feels like it could be like Ben's identity, where every character is actually just
It's
a part of his
Ben.
personality in his head.
But it's crazy when you think about it that James Bond is in this movie. James
Yeah.
Bond,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
current James
Like
Bond,
right
plays-
after this is like his immediate.
he's in the middle of
like-
being James
right.
Bond,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be a pipe smoking weirdo."
Yeah.
in your
Right, there's so many weird, interesting uses of like movie stars and their persona in this
Yeah.
Who's,
movie.
like,
the
shitty
way
at
he's like
flirting.
distorting,
Right.
But he there's a balance of like him telling certain people to play it so fucking straight,
Yeah.
and like Nicholson just going hog wild.
He's playing it more straight as the president, though. Like, it's a very
Yes.
funny and kind of nuanced like comedy performance.
It's one of his most likable characters.
Yeah.
Where like when they are being hustled out of the White House,
right.
and they lose Natalie Portman. He actually says we lost Taffy at one point.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you kind of I think what you're so used to Jack Nicholson, and in this movie you don't expect him to give a shit, you know, that his daughter has been separated from them,
Right.
but he actually does.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know, I was struck by that.
When his
likes
wife
his-
dies,
his wife
he's like
and his
very
daughter.
affected.
Yeah.
They're trying to get him out of there. And
Even
he,
though
like,
his
wants to
wife
mourn.
is like Glenn Close being like, I'm going to make fun of like the Nancy Reagan
Right.
type sort of
Yeah.
housewife in chief thing.
Right.
But Nicholson still likes her when she's there. He's sad that she got smushed by the chandelier.
Yeah, and Ben and I were saying before we recorded how weird it is to watch like movies now like this that like fictionalize a president. Where you're like, right, the stereotype for presidents forever used to be like they're very good performers. They're very good at making it seem like they care so much.
Sure.
It's like-
It's a Gen X movie. I mean,
Right.
this is Tim Burton's a Gen X-y guy, right?
Right.
And this movie is quietly kind of like it's all horseshit. You know, those
Yeah.
guys are stupid. Like, right?
Well,
Like that's like
yes.
all the generals are bad. Like Paul Winfield
yes.
is just as dumb as Rod Steiger.
That's a thing I love about this movie is like I feel like, you know, if you look at like Edward Scissorhands and this gets heightened as you get into later films where it's like there are the weird like circle-eyed like paper white pale
Right.
Tim Burton weirdos and then there are the happy suburban people and they're at odds with each
Little
other.
automatons.
Right. Why don't they realize everyone should be this dark and weird and haunted, right?
Right.
These people pretending to be happy. But because this gets away with those like stereotypes and it depicts like 80 different types of people, the big thing I think he's getting at is just like everyone's kind of putting on airs.
Sure.
Like everyone's sort of trying to make it seem like they know what they're doing and that they're happy. And everyone's kind of putting on a show. And the few people who come out heroic at the end of the movie are the people who just are like naturally themselves, like Taffy
Yep.
and Lucas Haas, Pam Grier, Jim Brown, like these people who are just kind of like, I don't know, I am what I am. But even the Annette Bening character, I think like he doesn't.
She does survive.
Yeah, I think he has some sympathy for her. Is so much about her like trying to find meaning in the universe.
Sure.
Can I address one thing though? For me, those movies, the Tim Burton Suburbia movies, are not necessarily saying everyone should be more like this weirdo. It's more like what I always took it as is the weird, like if you are in a place like that and you're a little different, you might as well feel like you might as well be Edward Scissorhands,
right?
You know,
Right.
that everyone is constantly talking about how you're weird, you don't fit in,
Yes.
and all that stuff.
Right.
And it's not. I never took it as, hey, we're supposed to be like this, but it's like if you feel like this,
Yes.
this is how people treat
I
you.
agree with that. I think it's just one of those things where
I knew you would, you cuck beta male.
Nailed it.
Yes, Paul. Yes, Paul. Whatever you say, Paul.
No, you're right. Everyone feels like Edward Scissorhands.
Yes. No, Paul is correct.
Jesus.
I do feel like
Not expecting.
You've had that one locked and loaded all episodes. I saw you had your trigger finger.
I did. I was ready. It's like, when will be my opening?
Yeah. When do I just get to pwn this noob? Send him away in the ambulance. No, I think it's just that it gets reduced to people feeling like when the divide is that stark, when he's dealing with such extreme stereotypes of like there are only two types of people: happy suburban people and haunted ghost children.
Right. I totally understand.
That it can be misinterpreted as that's the message. And then when you get to some of the later films where there isn't really a message behind it,
Sure.
in lack of any sort of social commentary, that's what it feels like. It's like Dark Shadows is the shittier version where he's just going like, this weird vampire family's normal, and everyone else is shitty.
Yeah, which is like, hey, that was the Munsters.
Right.
Right. We've seen the Addams Family, Tim, and
I
it's
thought
great.
it was a strange choice with Dark Shadows to make it a straight up comedy. Right.
But kind of like we rewatched it recently, and it's like it works well when it's just a straight up comedy, which was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But just going like it's a fish out of water comedy. He's an old school vampire. He doesn't know how things work.
It works fine.
I
But
guess
it's not outstanding.
It's tough with a movie like that where if you have in your head an idea of what it could be, what it could have been, or what you expected it to be.
Yes.
Like I knew it was going to be a comedy when I saw it, but I kept thinking because I'd never seen the original Dark Shadows, but I'd read a bunch about it for whatever reason.
It was another Mars Attacks like object that people sort of obsessed over.
It's such a strange thing.
It is.
And I guess I couldn't get past the idea of wanting to see a dramatic movie, that
it's actually
more in the dramatic vein of Tim Burton. And what that
which he
would
could have
been.
done.
Which he could have done.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know who convinced him. Like, well, no, you got to keep it Addams Family.
Yes,
it might have been. I get the instinct to make it a comedy because it's just soap opera. It's.
But we were also saying especially in a pre What We Do in the Shadows era where that hadn't been done yet.
Yeah.
You almost feel like start from scratch.
Yeah.
Don't use this property that has a really tangled mythology.
Yeah.
And just go, the premise is Johnny Depp wakes up 400 years later.
Yeah.
Maybe don't use Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
The premise is someone wakes up from a coffin. He doesn't understand our modern ways. And it's like, Nosferatu in like Suburbia. That's like a good high concept premise. He's a weirdly formal vampire. I don't know. We'll talk about this for its own 2-hour episode.
Dark Shadows is weird. But I mean, it is like this where like the Topps trading card frickin' Mars Attacks thing was like people would look at it and be like, who let them make this?
Yes.
This is too weird. This never gets past the net usually.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that's what they were just letting him do it. Like because they were like, whatever, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I don't care what you do.
But
like just
Brothers,
make sure you fill the time. Like
Warner Brothers had the confidence of like, this is a 4-quadrant slam dunk, right? Like they made this movie, especially because Burton's weird shit had become so big where they're like, it's the director of Beetlejuice doing a sci-fi movie. Like everyone's going to love that.
People love this.
Yeah.
And then people were just like, no, fuck you. Like, they were very angry.
We're going to talk about the box office later, but like, it came out at Christmas. No one wants to see this at Christmas. Yeah. I saw this film.
They also didn't want to be embarrassed for liking Independence Day.
Sure, maybe that's part of it, right? Like it's like there's been this switch flipped.
No one wanted to admit, like, that movie was kind of dumb.
But I was into it when he gave the big speech, and then Randy Quaid.
There was famously that year, Time Magazine did a cover story that was just the weird bio exoskeleton Independence Day suit, right?
Sure.
And it just said, "Sci-fi is back." And they were like, after years of it being shameful, it was the cover story, and it was this big narrative of like, sci-fi used to be for fucking nerds, and now it's cool and mainstream again.
Yeah, it's cool.
And you got
big,
like
strong guys like it.
But like X-Files is like, humongous.
Right.
Independence Day was huge.
Yeah.
And then you go the next year, the Star Wars movies get re-released. Men in Black comes out. Like it's this run of sci-fi becoming very,
if you want to look.
Aliens have landed.
But the subtitle is Sci-Fi Makes a Comeback. You're correct. It's not even a good, it doesn't look good. I don't know why he's in like a forest. I don't know why the background is green.
Yeah.
It's not like we're like, Independence Day famously set in a forest.
But it's also, it never went away. Like
No.
They never stopped making sci-fi movies.
No, it's very
Hollywood
odd.
pressed a button.
Yeah.
No more sci-fi.
But it was like they sort of acted like, okay, this is the dominant genre now. Like the way we all treat Marvel movies. And I think it was too soon to like, because then Independence Day comes out in July.
Sure.
This comes out in December. And then the following July, Men in Black comes out.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And by that point, everyone's like, we're ready to have the piss
And
taken out of
that's
this
the
thing.
thing. But I'm a kid, and I'm like, I wanted Men in Black because I was like, where is my major sci-fi summer movie? Like, I want that. I want aliens and goop and guns. Like, I give it to me.
It
I mean,
helped that it was Will Smith.
Funny.
It was the same guy who did the serious alien movie a year before.
Where I saw this movie in theaters, and like I didn't like that the nice general who has like a phone call with his wife, like going to meet the aliens, and he's like happy about it. And I don't get when I'm 10 that phone call, he sounds like kind of, he sounds a little silly. He's like, see, I didn't ask any questions and I got this job. And then he gets shot and turned into a skeleton.
Right. And the movie's like yelling at you like life is a joke. Everything is meaningless. Just try to survive.
Like, this is fucking horrifying.
Everyone's a bullshit artist and we're all going to die.
Wait, what was the nice alien movie?
The nice alien movie?
Like Starman, Cocoon.
E.T.?
No. You said he made the nice alien movie the year before.
Oh, Will Smith, I'm saying.
Will Smith.
But between Men in Black and Independence Day.
Oh, okay.
That he's the same guy who gave you the nice alien movie that's uplifting is now
it's
taking
like,
the piss
we can
out
make
of
fun
it.
of these.
Right, and that movie isn't as sort of
Fabio's an alien.
Yes, right. And that movie isn't as cynical,
Yeah.
The threat of danger is never as high.
Right.
But like Sonnenfeld at that point is very kind of analogous to Burton. He's like a less esoteric Burton.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It was a similar kind of like comedic sensibility.
He works with Bo Welch.
Yeah. I just, I'm 7 years old when this movie comes out. And I'm a child who is like terrified of death.
Mm-hmm.
And if I find out that characters die in a movie, I don't want to see it.
Right.
And like, I didn't see Lion King when that was like the biggest family film of all time because I was like, but the inciting incident that the dad dies,
and
right?
you said inciting incident.
I said the inciting incident is that the dad dies.
Right.
And like kids would come back to school the next year with their Timon and Pumbaa backpack and I was like, don't you know that movie's about death? How dare you flippantly wear a backpack where Timon is eating bugs, This is not funny. Death is a serious matter.
Backpack would be very skinny if it was in the shape of Timon.
It was in the shape of Timon. It was like
it never occurred to me that the backpack
I don't know
was
why
in
my
the shape of the character.
Yeah, you fucking beta cuck. Hey, right, Paul Pie?
Yeah!
We're poning you now, David. I'm now a jock.
It's the first time poning has been said so, like, in the years
I'm
on the air.
poning you so hard, David. Paul and I are best friends, and we're poning you, and we're cool, and men respect us.
I'm such a backpack noob.
Yeah, you don't
We're
even
an
know.
NPC.
I saw you tweeting.
That is
All those insults fucking crack me up
NPC
so
is the
bad.
funniest thing in the world.
It's so funny.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it's relatively new. It's great. Like they keep.
So they're basically saying like you're like the shopkeeper in that video
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Like, you've only got 4 dialogue
Yeah.
options.
You're programmed to support my narrative.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who has agency in this game.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You don't even realize you're not making choices.
All right.
It's the new version of like you sheeple.
Yeah.
Sure.
But by calling someone an NPC, you're outing yourself as
It's a
major dork.
Dorcas. Big Dorcas.
Dorkimus Prime. The backpack, for the record, I think had a sort of basic, like, kind of.
Thank you. Please.
It was like a leaf, like a sort of
sure,
flora and fauna sort
Timon's
of jungle
there,
pattern, but
eating
then a
some
big
bugs.
patch in the center that said like Timon and Pumbaa, we eat bugs or something like that. It was like,
I like that.
yeah,
I like that.
And their
It's very
mouth,
direct.
they were just like bugs a
Their
la
mouths
carte.
were full of bugs.
Truly. That's what I remember. And I was like, I cannot believe you're wearing such a morbid backpack. And this kid was like, it's Pumbaa. He's fat. He eats bugs. What are you talking about? Wouldn't see it.
Weird conversation. You guys had.
Was terrified of this movie because I knew it was going to be filled with death.
Sure.
I didn't like any movie that
it
had
was.
these sorts of
Which it is,
stakes
yes.
in them. I didn't
Right.
like any sort of invasion movie or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this. And my dad was like, it's a comedy. It's Tim Burton. He's like a cartoon guy.
Sure.
And this guy calls me up on the phone, my dad's friend, describes all the death scenes to me. And I remember sitting there watching it and I like loved it.
Right.
Was so on its wavelength comedically and started to get like thrilled by how much it scared me. Like it felt like
Wow.
being on a roller coaster or something.
Yeah.
where I was like,
You were kind of white knuckling it.
all this
right.
is upsetting. Like
Yeah.
any story that had like Frankenstein-y elements, anything
Mm-hmm.
supernatural, anything where people were dying, and the shit like Pierce Brosnan's decapitated head.
That's pretty weird. Not just that, but
All
then
that
he's
shit.
surrounded by his own organs
Yeah,
and
the
things
fact
like that.
that the neck is still dripping
Yeah.
blood,
Yeah.
even though it's
kind of
you
a
would think
sloppy
it's like
cauterized.
sealed off.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's kind of weird that he can have a conversation.
Right. But like the visible stitching on like the weird Sarah Jessica Parker dog hybrid, like this was the movie where I was sort of like, I'm kind of learning to own everything that scares me.
What was that a reference to the cards? Because
no, that's not in the cards.
Right. It does not need to be in the movie at all.
It's so insane.
So weird.
It's so crazy.
And that was the
it's
moment.
There just for crazy.
There are certain things like the burning cows, like that are right out of the cards, like the big sort of robot monster
suit
thing that they're in. But no, at no point does a fashion TV.
That was the moment when my dad's friend Ira, speaking to me on the phone, describes that, and I go, well, fuck it. This sounds scary, but I need to see this. Where he's like, and at the end, the two decapitated heads kiss as they're sinking into the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. I'm like, fuck it. I can't imagine what that looks like.
Right. How can you be not on board with a movie that features that scene?
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I mean?
Truly.
Right. That killed me. That the heads are rolling back and forth, and they eventually kiss. I'm like, yes, this is hilarious.
It is. It's a very good mockery of that, like Titanic style. The ship is going down, and we're in love.
Weird and great. It's so good. It's so good.
And I think there is a weird earnestness. Like he takes
them
very seriously.
They're very cute.
You're kind of rooting for them.
I was flirting with you, and I hoped that you would like it.
Yes. Like that whole element of like
she's kind of good at her job.
Yeah,
like she's sort of scooping her dumb boyfriend with his newspaper.
Right, like Michael J. Fox is an asshole because he doesn't see that she's good at what she does because it's not quote unquote serious. And the fact that Pierce Brosnan who's like the chief of science for the United States of America, despite being like a natty British man.
And also, he's stupid. I mean, I love the guy, but he really thinks these Martians are on the level.
But he also sees like game recognized game. You're very good at your job.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's like a big difference between like the way this film was marketed in America and the way it was marketed overseas, where it does significantly better. Is the poster here is just all the weird alien brains, right? And the one Martian's poking up, and it's got all the names, and it says "Nice planet, we'll take it." And I think people don't know what to make of this, right? And then the European poster, where it did really well, they were just like, "Here's all the weird imagery. It's Sarah Jessica Parker's head on a dog. It's the spy girl."
Wow, that's a much better poster.
And it did well there.
Yeah.
And it was like, here's the gonzo, like fucking like insane, throw it at the wall.
I don't know how you don't include that Sarah Jessica Parker will pee on top of a chihuahua. Like that her head. Like that's, you should put that in your poster.
That gets you in the theater.
You're going to do that.
Right.
Like you're going to spend the money.
Yeah.
They actually did it, of course, as we all know.
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
They put her on a chihuahua. They took her off, obviously, you know.
And Sarah Jessica Parker was a local hire and they made her pay for the operation herself.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, and
she
also
did get some money back because they used dry ice a couple times.
That's correct.
And then the Lisa Marie thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is weird creature.
Right. And that's like, Apex Tim Burton, where like he's like Lisa Marie is his weirdly silent girlfriend who appears in like nonverbal roles in all of his movies other than Ed Wood, where she just speaks in a flat, like sarcastic monotone.
Yeah.
But she's like this weird piece of art dressing in his films, and then she's always on the red carpet with him in like these insane proto Lady Gaga outfits.
Right. I've always liked her.
I always have too.
I've always liked her.
She seems really cool.
She seems cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she seems very cool.
Also, apparently Rebecca Broussard, who was Nicholson's girlfriend at
plays
the time.
one of the hookers.
Plays one of the hookers.
Yes.
And Barbette Schroeder plays the president of France.
There's so many weird casting
I did not
choices.
know that.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to work with Burton.
Right, and then you get like Joe Don Baker, who was like the original Buford Pusser and Walking Tall. Like it's like all these people like
Olan Jones.
Right, who was like one of Burton's favorite like stock company character actors. Yeah.
And it's right after Ed Wood was his previous.
Right,
Ed Wood's his previous movie.
Which one of my favorites.
It's great.
I love that movie.
Burton. Yes.
And I remember that being really, especially with I think Hollywood people, that movie was very resonant.
I think it's the best film about filmmaking ever made.
Yeah,
and I feel like most people I know who are in the industry go like that and Bowfinger are the two that sum it up. But Bowfinger makes me kind of hate the industry, and Ed Wood makes me kind of love it.
Right. Well, it also, and I don't know LA that well, but it always felt like a very good LA movie, like just about like living in a little house in LA. Like, you know what I mean? I think it was the first time I saw a Hollywood movie, because I saw it when I was a teenager. You know, where it's like, oh yeah, they're just people. They just live in little houses and they have cars and shit. You know,
living like job to job, like gig to gig.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I love that
they're so
that's certainly my favorite Burton.
But
it's
that's
his most like
humane
and wonderful movie.
But it was like his least successful film ever.
Right, but it did
really
win. It won Oscars.
Won Oscars, but didn't work commercially.
No.
certainly was respected for, and people were like, oh, maybe like Burton's growing up. Like maybe this is the start of him, like, you know,
I
he's
guess I
getting.
shouldn't be surprised that it was his least successful film commercially. This black and white movie about the friendship between a crossdresser and a heroin addict.
A washed up, mean Hungarian heroin addict.
Yeah. The tagline for the movie is, his films are bad. No, but it is crazy. If you actually take a close look at the numbers, you have to do a deep reading. It did not outgross Batman.
Right. Hollywood accountants poured over this for months.
Look, we're just trying to have fun.
But I think that was another thing, was like all the critics who kind of like, you know, to a certain degree, Tim Burton was treated not exactly the same, but I think a little bit like early Spielberg, where they were like, why does he keep on making these infantile movies?
Right.
Why is he so caught up with this genre stuff? Why is it always about the suburbs? You know, like all this sort of shit.
What did the suburbs do to you, Tim?
Right.
Leave him alone.
Right. And like on a very, very small scale, I think they were like, oh, they made like a black and white, like kind of artsy human, like adult movie. It's like, this is sort of a Schindler's List. Like, what's he going to be like now? And then he makes like his most insane cartoonish
It
movie
is a funny
right
reaction
afterwards.
to Ed Wood, yeah.
Ding dong.
Oh, boy.
Ding
Get
dong,
the door.
ding dong.
Get the door.
Corruption.
Oh my God, David, do you see who it is?
No.
It's Chad Kroeger from Nickelback.
We're sure that's who it is?
It definitely is. Look, that's definitely the man who was once married to Avril Lavigne, lead singer of Nickelback, Chad Kroeger.
Singer of the song Hero.
And they say that a hero can save us. Not gonna stand here and wait.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Chad.
So I'm holding on for an hero. Watch as we all fade away.
I just love to have people in the room when we talk to you, Chad.
Maybe those are the lyrics. It's something like that. And they say that heroes good Wi-Fi.
Are you talking about Eero?
Yes.
The company that, you know, helps bring multiple access points through your house so that you can have like good Wi-Fi in your home?
One would say to save you.
This is oh boy. Are you saying that you're here to talk about the tiny little white box that sits flat on a surface, plugs into any power adapter, connects over Ethernet or wirelessly in any combination, and gives you great 5 gigahertz tri-band internet throughout your home simultaneously with no trouble at all?
Yes, and I'm not alone in saying that, because I brought with me Josie Wells from Saliva. And they say that an hero can say... I just have the same message
I was
to
about
say.
to say,
We
you
sing the song
seem
together.
A little one note.
Chad Kroeger and Josie Wells.
Well, do you know anything about Eero Plus?
Eero Plus.
Well, it's designed to provide simple, reliable security to defend your home's devices against like malware or spyware or phishing attacks.
Spiderware?
Just spyware, but I mean, yeah, maybe Eero Plus also deals with the spider. I'm not sure. No, it lets you block malicious and unwanted content across your entire network.
Like Avril Lavigne news stories. I just haven't gotten over that one yet.
So sorry, Chad.
Yeah.
Can you look at this photograph for a second?
Oh no, it's Avril.
You can.
Too wrong.
It has advanced security. It'll check the sites you visit against a database of millions of known threats. Eero Plus prevents you from accidentally visiting malicious sites without slowing anything down. It's got content blocking, so it'll tag sites with violent or illegal or adult content if you are worried about your kids seeing the wrong thing online.
You have this at home, correct?
Yeah, so it comes in a little box.
Oh, you have this at Big Nice?
I have it at Big Nice. So I have a lot of Wi-Fi problems at my house because it's a 2-floor apartment. And the router's all the way on one end of the house.
There's a thing I'd love to say, but I believe that bit's been retired.
There's a router at one end of the house, like my bedroom's at the other end of the house on another floor.
Ooh, you're really tempting me.
And so
Sounds like quite a spacious layout.
and so
You live there alone?
No, I've got to go.
Oh God, it's burning me up inside.
And so the router is the Eero router goes, near your modem, but they've comes with this little tiny. It looks like a little wall plug, like a nightlight sort of size thing.
A little wall crawler plug.
Exactly. That you just plug into any other place you want to extend your range, and it'll extend your range really easily.
And you can surf the web.
5 seconds. You use an app.
Surf the web.
Yeah, you can surf the web.
Spider web.
Mm-hmm.
And it even comes with a nightlight if you want to light your like bedroom. You know, like you can control it all through the Eero app.
Oh, that sounds lovely. So you're saying that an Eero could save you?
An Eero could save me. And so,
what advice would you give me if I don't want to stand here and wait?
well, you can never think about Wi-Fi again. You can get $100 off the Eero base unit, which comes with 2 beacons.
That's a big discount.
And 1 year of Eero Plus. So visit Eero.com/check and at checkout enter check.
Thank you for getting to the point. I, Chad Kroger, am pretty tired right now and feeling kind of loopy.
Okay. Well, if you just go to Eero.com/check, you'll get $100 off the Eero base unit and 2 beacons package with 1 year Eero Plus.
Okay, let an Eero save you.
All right. Get out of here.
I mean, it's hard to talk about the plot of this movie because it is so fractured, but I do think of films with sort of ensemble satellite storytelling like this, it is one of the most balanced. Like, I feel like this film is very well structured in terms of even like the people who don't appear for 40 minutes. You feel like you're keeping abreast of all the threads. Everyone feels very well characterized.
It takes a good half hour before the Martians start killing everyone. So it's like, you know, by that point, you've been introduced to everyone. They're very easy to get to know.
And
like
really
they're very
good,
big characters.
efficient
so it's easy to grab a
characterization.
hold
The
of them.
performances are really good, but you get all the little details of like everyone's sort of behavioral quirks.
Yeah.
I mean, just like watching everyone watch the first televised speech by the Martians.
He did the international sign of the donut. That's the funniest line in the movie. That kills me.
The other one I like is when Lucas Haas is later with his coworker at the donut shop, and he goes, "Why are they doing this?" She goes, "Maybe they don't like humans."
It's also good.
And she's still like the delivery is perfect because
So
it's
perfect.
like this might be an idea. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not saying this is what I think. I'm saying that this is a possibility.
They do keep mowing us down like chaff.
This movie is just like he's so in control of like the sense of comedic contrast.
Yeah.
And there are also so many like incredibly funny edits in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like these perfect, like, I mean, where you see his animation background coming in of like, this is the exact timing to cut to this reaction shot of this face.
Yeah.
Where like you're watching General Casey with the dove and everyone, and then it turning to chaos on TV, and the first cut back to Nicholson.
and close.
And they're
really
like watching
funny.
on the couch with like their TV dinner trays, you know?
And the animation is really funny.
It's really funny.
It's really funny.
It's 22 years old. It looks pretty amazing.
It looks great.
Like,
it looks great. And I feel like it's aged into the equivalent of stop motion.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like the way they move when they're carrying people up the little ramp to the spaceship. But their reactions to things when Nicholson does that speech and the head alien
The nice
like,
speech,
gets choked up and everything. It's like it's tiny little details that are so well rendered.
The performances are really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other place his animation background comes in as a
I
real
like it
strong
when
suit
they're
is-
in the
right.
ship being goofy too, and they're kind of like, you know, one of them's banging on a console, or they're like laughing around.
But
and
that's
like
also
yucking
the
it
ultimate
up.
joke of the movie is the humans still can't figure out how to read them, and we're all like, we got these guys figured out. Like as an audience, we're like, I understand them behaviorally.
They are malevolent children.
And all the weird rules that are like sort of established of their like sort of their lives, like visually of like, okay, on the ship they all walk around in Speedos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then this weird like sort of factory press machine
I
that
like
gives
that.
them the suits.
It's funny.
All their like their communications.
this is Looney
Their
Tunes
ticker
shit.
tape machine looks like a roll of condoms.
Yes, this look like a roll of condoms. They're horny too. There's
They're really
a couple
horny.
horny
Yeah, that's
jokes.
right.
Yes,
They
got
like
the
these sort of
windshield
experiments
wipers.
just for kicks.
Yeah.
But
Everything's just for goofs
like
for them.
things like the little factory thing, or the weird balloon that sucks up the
Love
nuclear
that
bomb.
gag.
Like
Yeah.
it's like pure Looney Tunes. That's
Right.
like Chuck Jones.
Well, and then like the whole fucking Lisa Marie section is just like such good physical
That
comedy.
is the best part because I like that their idea of walking is that sort of weird swaying hand motion.
Right, but then there'll be that bit
With
where
the
like when he
glide.
looks away, then she turns into
He
like
creeps.
sneaky like Elmer Fudd position. Like her hands come up like claws, and the second he looks over, she's like back into elegant
This
like
movie is so bizarre.
so good.
So
And her
strange.
like oxygen chewing gum, the fact that her purse is clearly shaped like,
a ray gun.
ray gun.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff that I just found so fucking funny as a child and like demystified death for me in its own weird way where I was just like, I moved from like being like terrified by the specter of like I will die 80 years from now. Like I wake my parents up in the middle of the night and be like, but you're telling me in like 6 decades I'll be dead.
Oh no!
And they'd be like, don't worry about it. Live now.
They'd be like, you're worried about this shit. Like, go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm worrying about
Right.
this.
And this movie, for the first time, I was just like, I don't know. What are you going to do? It's all meaningless.
That's fantastic.
It like shifted my entire worldview. This
Wow.
film. Yeah,
That's
truly.
amazing.
Yeah. This was the one where I stopped
That's
having like
amazing.
death
You
nightmares,
could
and I was
handle
like,
death.
hey, what are you going to do about it?
Glad I was here.
And
for
you
this
learned
one.
about Tom Jones, right? I was introduced to Tom Jones through this
Huge
movie.
for me. I referred to him as my favorite musician for a year after this film. I made my parents buy Tom Jones albums.
I mean, you
I
know.
had no cultural context. I didn't
Right.
get who he
The
was.
last shot of the movie is him singing to a bunch of animals.
Thought it was the funniest
That's
thing in the world.
last shot.
I was wondering if he was going to sing. It stops right before he
right,
sings.
right. It's him sort of gathering the animals around him.
I love that they made him so noble that he runs off stage and then he's telling everyone else to leave. Like, you have to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just
He knows how to fly a
cravenly
plane.
running for cover himself.
Right. Tom Jones. Why is Tom Jones a joke? Is he like a punchline at this point? Is that why
No,
they're
it just
doing it? Or
feels
he's
like-
just like
I
a
mean,
Vegas
I think it was because of
guy?
Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was because of
But
Vegas.
also, like Jonathan Gem said that like Tim Burton really
and a good get, too. You know, like,
a good get.
yeah.
Sure.
A good
Great.
Jem said that Tim Burton really like co-wrote this movie and didn't ask for credit. And I think he was a little more hands-on in the script, actually at the typewriter than he has in some of his other films. And a lot of those influences feel like, well, these are the guys he like grew up watching.
Yeah.
Like he watched a ton of like Pam Grier, Jim Brown movies. And that's why he
Right.
put him in the
Pam
film.
Grier is so much fun in this movie.
Right, and
This is
had
the year
them sort of
before
playing-
Jackie Brown.
Yeah, right. Like this is like the beginning of her like comeback narrative.
Yeah, definitely.
Another weird thing I found in the credits that one of the little kids, one of Pam Grier's sons,
Ray J.
is Ray J.
For the love of Ray
Are
J.
you serious?
Yes.
The littler one or the bigger
The
one?
bigger one. You can tell because half that height is penis.
Get out of here. Good God.
It's a large
I'm
Ray
sorry
J.
that you had to hear that, Paul.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
a
no,
large
you're
We're
right.
talking about Ray J.
Of course it's Ray J. Here, yes. No, I
course.
mean, you look at him now. There he is.
Well, no, it never occurred to me as I was
No, I
watching the
know.
movie. Well, that's Ray J.
Me neither. Well, you might feel a little weird being like, what is that kid, like Ray J or
Right.
something?
What's weird is when I saw this movie, I didn't know who Jack Nicholson was, and I was like, "Oh, Ray J's in this picture." Like when his name came
This
up
picture.
in the opening credits, I was like, "Oh, Ray J, he who appears on Nickelodeon game shows with some frequency."
Oh, see, I don't
Sure.
know. I didn't know Ray J until the sex tape. Like, I had no idea who he was.
Because Ray J
I'm trying to-
is Brandy's little brother, right?
Yes, he's
Right.
in Moesha.
Right.
Was that the show?
So all this
Yes.
stuff would be
Yeah.
like after my time.
Right, and then they sort of
right,
positioned
yes.
him as a rapper.
But sex tapes are timeless.
Of course.
They're for all of us.
Transcend generation.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he was like they were trying to make Ray J happen.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Brandy
So they would-
doing all of her stuff
Right.
would be like, and here I am with
Ray
my
J
brother
took
Ray
matters
J.
into his own hands. It's like, I know what to do.
It's not the only thing he took into his
All
own
right.
hands.
Biding his
There
time.
we go.
No, those are the
I
people who
love
like
Ray J.
jumped out to me watching this film. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Ray J.
All right. Anyone else in the? Yeah, I mean Sylvia Sidney as the grandma. Just I liked seeing her because we did Beetlejuice very recently, and she rules. She's so funny in this. I like it when
loves
she's
Richie.
like, I'm not that old. When
Yes.
I bet you remember the invention of the train.
Yeah. Well, because they play this bit of like, oh, she's like a senile old lady, doesn't know what she's doing, and then every time anyone treats her that way, she's like, you fucking asshole.
Shut up. Yeah, Barbette Schroeder did not notice that credit the
weird.
first time.
She like early Jack Black
Yeah.
as one of the first.
He's
deaths.
funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny scene. That when he's right, we picks up the flag. That's it. It is. I do think it is a movie that is pointedly like, poking fun at the pomp and circumstance of the White House and like
You got the Steiger character and the Paul Winfield character, where he's like this great sort of diplomat, this man
Right.
of peace, and Rod Steiger's like, blow him up, like the whole movie, and both of them are wrong.
and you're
Yeah.
cross cutting from that to Vegas. I'm
Right.
sure Burton thought that was like the perfect mirror image. Right? It's just like
Right.
this absurd cowboy man, and he wanted that big thing they blow up. That's a real demolition.
Oh,
Of
that's
a real
crazy.
hotel. That was a real hotel.
Really?
In
This
Vegas,
one's so
like some
expensive.
weird old
Yeah.
hotel that Burton, I guess, thought was so terrific because it looks like a space
Yeah.
needle.
Yeah.
And they were going to blow it up anyway. And he was like, we gotta
Wow.
Put that in Mars
That's
Attacks.
terrific.
I know.
I
That's
just
terrific.
love the first time he's like on the phone when he is seeing out of his like peripheral vision that aliens are being announced on television.
Right.
He's just coincidentally been developing this hotel, and the guy just immediately goes like, "Well, this is gonna be a big boon for business."
Right.
Like aliens are invading. Like you see the hotel get finished as the movie
Yeah.
goes on, and it doesn't go on for very long in terms of the timeline. But that he's still in like the investor meeting with like these Saudi Arabian
Exactly.
princes.
And they're like,
yeah.
is always funny.
Right,
Look
like-
behind
Yeah.
you is always
Right,
funny.
like it's just like, Annette Bening is going like, this is the message that like
Yeah.
the universe is trying to tell us on. Like Jack
Right.
Nicholson's like, this is gonna be huge for business. President is seeing it as like, this is like the thing
Right.
that makes
I'm
me a
gonna be
great canonical
statesman.
president.
Yeah,
right.
Yes, yeah. It's got to be, the speech has got to be real good.
Right, and the only people who come out of it looking heroic are the people who just like look after one person.
Yeah.
Like Jim Brown's trying to get back to his kids.
Right.
Lucas Haas is trying to take care of his grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the reveal of Jim Brown at the end of the film was like fucking pumping fists, like the most
Absolutely.
excited I'd ever been in a movie theater.
Was anyone else excited in the movie theater?
I remember the theater cheering,
That's
and my dad was like, "That's one of the great moments in film."
Oh,
We would talk about it all the time.
that's one of
Yeah.
the great.
Yeah, he was like,
That is
my
quite a
word.
marker to throw
Oh,
down.
oh, my
I think
word.
the line my dad said was, "It doesn't get better than that," and he would like describe it to people. Like my dad's friends would come over to dinner, and he'd be like, "And you think Jim Brown's dead?" And the plane's
And they'd
flying
be like,
overhead.
yeah, we get it. I mean, it's not the first time a movie ever
Right,
did
but
that.
the visual language of that sequencing
Sure.
of shots where it's like, okay, you see them pushing the Martians out of their
He's
apartment.
got the Pharaoh outfit on.
Yeah.
Right, no, but first you see like Ray J
Okay.
and Pam Grier and the other boy, who's young Michael Jordan from Space Jam, is weirdly an actor
sure.
we've covered like 4 times on this podcast.
Sure,
There's another
okay.
movie he's in. But you see them pushing the aliens out. Then the camera pulls back to see like, oh, the entire half of the building is gone, and now they're dealing with the wreckage, which is a kind of a fun reveal. And then that fucking like fist pumping moment of like Egyptian sandal comes down, squishes the brain.
I mean, it's
and
like
he made it.
It's like watching your son score a goal in soccer.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It was the only 2 things my dad ever talked about. I was so proud of you, and I was so
Like
proud of
seeing
Jim
them
Brown.
do a play and remember all their lines.
Nope.
No.
Not like that.
Right, and I said to my dad, I was like, he's an athlete, and you liked him doing some acting. And he was like, yeah, but Griffin, he's a good actor.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we play the box office game? And then
I
it's a special
really
box office
enjoyed
game.
Annette Bening in this movie.
Yes.
I've
really good
never
performance,
seen
yeah.
her. I don't think I've
so
ever seen her.
rarely a high comedy.
Yeah. I've never seen her do a character like that before.
Right,
You know, like
right.
a character.
Yeah.
You know, I loved the voice that she was doing, and it was fun. It was really fun to watch her.
And
trying to
she's
think
sort of
about
like,
her.
I like all the sort of broken people being set up. I mean, they
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
such a nice setup of Jim Brown with like him needing the money, the divorce he hasn't fully accepted,
Yeah.
turning down the Jack Nicholson offer to be like a shakedown artist, like muscle guy, implying that he'd done it before.
Right.
And then just all the little pieces of the Annette Bening of like, she's in this awful marriage. She kind of loves the luxury
She
of
likes
it.
gambling.
She's a recovering
Who doesn't?
alcoholic.
Yeah.
She falls for
she
Dave
wants some
DeVito
meaning.
It's only been
immediately.
over for 3 months. That was such a crazy detail
Yes.
to me. Like, because when we first see her, she's like, "Do you have to drink in front of me?" To find out it's only 3 months in, and all this shit happens.
But the Tahoe thing, when
Yeah.
Jim Brown's like,
Yeah.
"Can we go DC?" and she's like, "No, why DC Tahoe?"
They're a cute little team.
Yeah.
And
She
she'd never
was-
really done a comedy
She was
before.
supposed to be Catwoman, and then she got pregnant.
That's right.
With their first child.
That's right.
She dropped out very late in the
Interesting.
game,
Huh.
and that's when Sean Young made her like aggressive.
Oh boy.
her famous video.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think she had wanted to work with Burt. I mean, all these
Sure.
actors like
No,
love
I think
working
it's
with
it's
him.
that
I think
situation.
Sean
Yeah.
Young would have been a good Catwoman.
Sure.
I think she would have done a good job.
Well, she was supposed to be Vicky Vale. She had an
Vicky
injury
Vale. Forgot about
horseback
Vicky Vale.
riding,
Right.
and then was forced to drop out.
Mhm.
And then she felt like I missed the window. I need to get back into
Right.
Batman somehow.
Right. Here's what
Right.
I know. I gotta be in a Batman movie.
You're right. That's where it all went.
And look,
like
I need that
turned.
sense of completion.
They're only going
Yes.
to make like 2 of these. I have very
Yeah.
limited
They're
opportunities.
never making one of these fucking things. He's returning. That's it.
Right. They got one actor playing
Might as
Batman.
well
When
call it
he's
Batman
done, the whole
Leaves.
franchise is going to be over.
Yeah.
The second Keaton walks, they're closing the book.
All right. So Griffin, with the box office game, we've done this box office. So Paul, the box office, Griffin, he can guess.
Do we have to do it?
We
You don't seem
have
into
to
it.
do it.
No, I'll explain in a second. But so
Yeah.
the box office game is I just look at the opening weekend of the movie, and Griffin usually
because he's a little computer boy, can remember literally what the other movies in the top 5 were.
What an LCB.
But we've done this box office before.
Okay, what else came out this week?
Because it came out at the same day as Jerry Maguire.
Oh, Jerry Mags.
The same day.
The same day as Jerry Maguire.
Weird. One movie that feels like it's tailor-made for people to see during the Christmas season.
Sure.
Appropriately scheduled. Yeah. Okay.
But we could do the next week. I don't know. That's all I got for you. Right?
Let's do this weekend. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Years. All right. So number 1's Jerry Maguire. Gave it away.
Okay.
Number 2's
what did it open with?
$17 million.
Which was like genuinely a huge opening at that time.
Sure, for a 2.5-hour romantic drama about a sports agent.
About contract negotiations.
Rated R?
Yeah.
In a pre-ballers era?
Exactly. They had no idea what was on the horizon.
When are they going to start the BCU? Because we know when Wahlberg makes a TV show, it's really just a setup for the major film franchise that will come later.
Is he in Ballers? Has Wahlberg
I'm
been
sure
in
he's
Ballers?
I'm sure
he
he's
showed up.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Remember when he was in Entourage and the first episode, he's like, "Hey, Vinny Chase, how you doing?" And then it walks off, and you're like, "Oh, he's passing."
I weirdly watched.
I give this my blessing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I weirdly watched him doing an interview. I forget what movie it was promoting, but they had just gotten the green light on the Entourage film.
Okay.
Because it was some clip that someone was recirculating of him talking about the fake penis and Boogie Nights. Uh-huh. So it still has some virality.
Right.
And he was like,
where he's like, who knows if it's fake or real? No one will ever know.
Right.
He's trying to make it murky and mysterious.
If I had been on that plane 9/11 with that penis.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's the clip?
Can you imagine if he and Ray J were on the same flight?
Right?
None of that would have happened.
Who is it who just told us that they canceled their 9/11? Oh, James Seamus told us that.
James Seamus.
We interviewed James Seamus.
Screenwriter of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, canceled.
Said he used to
United
take Flight 93 all the time. Anyway.
He took it once a week because he was going back and forth between LA and New York. He'd teach at Columbia and he'd work in LA. And he was like, I pretty much had a weekly reservation on that flight, and I remember specifically canceling.
The amount of famos who didn't get on
Seth
one
MacFarlane.
of those planes.
Seth
It's
MacFarlane,
weird.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg's fake penis.
Wait. Mark Wahlberg wasn't supposed to be on one of the planes, was he? He just opined that had he been,
just wanted
he
to.
wished he had booked the ticket.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only person who doesn't say, thank God I didn't go.
Yeah.
The person went, Jesus
I wish
Christ,
I was on there.
I'll never forgive myself for not
I would have
booking
saved America.
that flight.
Oh, boy. Also, Brian from the Backstreet Boys' wife.
Brian Luttrell's wife.
Yes, was supposed to be on one of them. So I'm glad that I could tell you.
I mean, just think about the butterfly effect of how different our world would be.
Okay. What was Mark Wahlberg
No
saying
American
in the video
Dad.
clip? What was he saying? Help me.
He was saying, now I have to actually remember. Oh, he was talking with such confidence, like, it took a long time to get all the contracts lined up, but I'm so happy we're finally making the Entourage movie. And I'm telling you, you're not going to have to wait that long for the second one.
Oh.
He's like, we're going to keep this ball in the air.
Right.
Like, now that we got it, this is a full rebirth. I always wanted it to be a film franchise.
He wanted to make Entourage.
Right, that's what he was saying. He was like, we had to make a TV show to test the concept, to show people it was viable. No one wanted to do the series, but now it's going to be a major fucking film franchise.
Did anyone here see the Entourage movie?
I did. I had to review it for my job as a film critic.
I have not seen it.
It's all right.
I can't imagine seeing it.
I read the script because I auditioned twice
Griffin.
for it.
Oh, that's right. Griffin auditioned
There was
for
a brief
movie.
moment where they had serious interest in me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And I auditioned seriously for 2 roles in the film. The 2 people who got the parts I auditioned for, of course. Look at me, Paul. Who are the 2 other actors I'm always going up against for roles?
Probably
Jennifer and
I can't, who
Come on.
Academy Award nominee Haley Joel Osment.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Kid Cudi.
Yep.
And both times they went, this is a total Griffin Newman role.
I saw Entourage. I don't
Right
remember
here we are.
anything.
Eclectic
Did you see
cast.
it?
Yeah. I did not see it. I read the script cover to cover.
Turtle do?
He's like, he fights Ronda Rousey.
Cool.
That sounds
That's what I
cool.
remember.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
really cool.
I remember Haley Joel Osment is pretty funny. Kid Cudi, I think he's just like Ari's assistant.
Yes, correct. He's the new assistant.
He's like serious. He's just playing it.
what happened to Lloyd?
He gets
Lloyd's-
promoted. He's a
Lloyd's
partner.
like president at this
Oh,
point or
okay,
something.
okay.
I don't know.
I
Like,
saw the first season and 1 episode of the second season of Entourage.
Sure.
Before
And
I was like,
called it
why am I
quits.
doing this?
Right, but you still unfortunately know what it is.
I know too much about
all
it.
the names of the characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Well, and
You know
Yes,
about
yes,
the Murphy
yes.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it
Heard
makes
about it.
sense. Paul, it makes sense that you didn't see the movie, because if you'd only seen the first season and jumped to the movie, you would not understand.
I would have been lost, right?
The plot was so complex.
Fame, often comes with a little bit of complication.
Right.
This is somebody, you might be on a yacht, but then Emily Ratajkowski's there, and you want to hit on her.
Sometimes you
for
get
example,
2 job
That's
offers.
definitely
and you
something
have
happens
to
in the movie.
Pick one.
That's
right. Yes,
And the effect
Which
it has
will
on the
you
rest of your
do?
life is microscopic.
I did not see the finale, the TV finale, but I remember that it aired on 9/11, and the last shot was 2 planes taking off from Los Angeles for New York.
Oh my god! I also,
I just realized what Entourage is. Entourage is a choose-your-own-adventure book where whatever you choose, it still sends you to the same page.
Yeah.
right.
Like there's no consequence
You
for
won.
any action.
Yeah.
Slap Werner Herzog in the face, turn the page. You win an Oscar. Oh my god!
It's the same outcome as if you go on a date with Jamie King. It's the exact same thing.
Number 3 at the box
Okay, number
office
3. Mars Attacks is 2?
Yeah. is a Disney live action remake. Before they did them 3 times a year.
Flubber?
No,
Live action remake.
Oh,
And what
101
year?
Dalmatians?
96.
There we go.
So Glenn
101 Dalmatians.
Close.
Yeah, Glenn Close is all over
Big
the
weekend
box
for
office.
Glenn Close.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that was a hit.
Big hit.
Puppies,
Yeah.
mean
Right, because
ladies
Mars
had,
Attacks
had it all.
Mars Attacks opened above 101 Dalmatians.
But 101 Dalmatians has been in theaters for 3 weeks.
Oh, it's already been.
Oh,
in there.
wow,
It's been
yeah.
around. It's doing great. It's going to make like $100 million. It's number 4. However, I believe you struggled with this one.
Wait, did 101 Dalmatians top out at 100?
And what? No, 136.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say if it was only at
When it
100.
hits 101 and Disney's like, yank it.
Take it out of theaters. This is too perfect.
Gotta leave some money on the table.
Oh boy. Number 4 is also a remake. It stars like a huge star and another like huge celebrity.
Oh, so one of the people you would say is not an actor.
Not an actor first and foremost.
It's a remake.
It is a remake. It's a family movie.
With a huge celebrity. Were they a musician?
Yes. The other person is a musician.
Is it The Preacher's Wife?
Preacher's Wife. Denzel Washington.
Remake of The Pastor's Wife?
The Bishop's Wife.
The Bishop's Wife.
Bishop's Wife. Denzel, Whitney Houston.
Directed by Penny Marshall?
Yep. Number 5 is an action film, kind of a disaster movie with a big action star who's like on the wane. Seriously on the wane.
Stallone?
He knows immediately that it's Stallone. I guess
96.
I gave
He's
that
on the
away.
wane. It's a disaster movie?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Daybreak? Is it Daybreak?
You're close.
Daylight?
Yeah,
What's it called?
Daylight. Yeah.
What was that one again?
What if the Holland Tunnel blew up
Yeah.
and there were like 12 people in
Trapped
there?
in the tunnel.
Sylvester Stallone's gotta go get him.
Major stakes.
Sly in a tunnel.
It is fun to
12
think about.
people.
Rather than like there's a virus, everyone dies. It's like the Holland Tunnel. There's like a few people. He has to go.
Doesn't sound that hard
No.
to figure out, right?
I think he like leads
I'm not
them
trying
up
to
the
be Elon
stairs.
Musk here or anything. Like, I've built a special.
Right. I mean, only a pedo couldn't figure out how to get out of a tunnel.
So that's our 5.
Do you think that was the entire pitch was just Sly's in a tunnel?
I don't.
At that point
I
in
saw
time,
that
bro?
movie in theaters.
What if trying to get out of something, you were trying to get into something?
It's also weird that it's called Daylight because I get the ideas that they want to see day, like they want to
Yes.
get out of the tunnel.
It feels a little
But-
mocking.
It's like, well,
Yes.
hold your breath.
Ugh.
Daylight.
Stallone
It sounds like a
Daylight.
vampire movie or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are these people like trapped? Why am I asking?
It's
Why
just
am I
like
asking?
it's like the cars blow
Why?
up, so it collapses. So they're in the tunnel. He's got to go through some big fans. There's a fan sequence.
See, that's
like
the answer.
big whirling fans.
Paul, the reason why you're asking is because David, of course, was an executive producer on the film Daylight.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was great to have a fan sequence. I staged it in the boardroom, and they were all into it.
Was that Rob Cohen?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sounds like it.
Rob Cohen.
Yeah.
Rob.
I
Love
just
fans.
saw Skyscraper for How Did This Get Made? That
Oh, yes.
other movie
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
And
That one with 3 people, not 2 friends.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and they're not friends.
Mm-mm.
2 of them are married. I think
Hey,
we all know.
a long walk from friendship.
They might say I married my best friend, but that's a lie.
Yeah.
And that movie is mainly The Rock trying to get into a building
Okay.
as opposed to trying to get out of it.
Building.
It's Die Hard on the outside.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Is it any good?
No,
No.
it's not. It's dull. It's not like there's a bunch of set pieces, but it's not fun and it's not interesting.
And he's not interesting. He has one leg, right? That's his bit. That's his
yes,
thing.
but it kind of doesn't come into play until the very end of the movie. I completely forgot.
Don't even remember
they establish it,
right.
and then I completely forgot about it for a long time. Yeah.
One other complaint I want to make about Mars Attacks before we're done.
Uh-huh.
Oscar nominees that year for visual effects.
Oh, yeah.
There were 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The winner was Independence Day. Sure. Big movie. Big hit.
Yeah.
It's got aliens. I mean, you're mad about it. I agree. But it can be in there. Another nominee is Twister.
Sure.
Tornadoes.
Cow.
Big hit.
The biggest fucking movie. Yeah.
The third nominee was Dragonheart. The Dennis Quaid dragon movie.
And let me tell you.
And they snubbed this for Dragonheart?
The dragon in Dragonheart looked terrible.
Looks awful.
Wait, was it nominated or not nominated?
It wasn't nominated. Mars Attacks wasn't nominated.
Yeah. Wow.
It was snubbed for, I think, Dragonheart.
Yeah,
I think,
that sucks.
Independence Day and Twister, they're getting in.
Yeah.
I mean, as much stock as you place in these kind of things, I think I always feel like the technical awards mean more than the acting awards.
Kind
Do you know
of.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Certainly,
like,
it's great to see when
because
those
it's
guys win
easier-
and they get up and they're on national TV
yeah,
and you don't know
exactly.
who they are. And they're
And they never get recognition ever. And
you
and
cut
it's
to
also,
the husbands in the audience looking all happy or whatever.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
it's also it's more provably excellent. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
As opposed to
yes,
acting, which is
right.
so
You're sort of
subjective.
like, it's up to you
It's
whether
like,
right.
Look at these things that they built.
Shitty dragon.
Yeah,
That
it looks
dragon sucks.
it looks like a
It's a bad
screensaver.
dragon.
It looks like a
Look at this
screensaver.
crappy dragon.
Do they have green bones in this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's
The
right.
Dragon and Dragonheart,
Arguments.
and I'm not just saying this because it's easy to dunk on something that's 22 years old now. We're talking about a movie that still holds up, right?
Yeah,
the
that's
Dragon
the
and
thing.
Dragonheart looks like he's from like a pinball CD-ROM that comes with your gateway computer.
And who directed Dragonheart?
Rob Cohen.
That's right.
That's why I
Dragon
thought of
voiced
it.
by Sean Connery. I
That's
believe?
right.
Yes.
That's right. I'm a dragon. I don't know what he does.
I remember him saying from the trailer, "I am the last one." I think he's the last dragon.
Isn't it his contract that he always has to be the last of something?
Correct.
Is that like Highlander or whatever? Like he
Yeah.
says, like no.
There can be only one.
There can be only
Can be
one.
only
All right,
one.
so there's 2 in Highlander.
Yeah.
You're right.
Don't move.
I've withdrawn. Sorry.
No, the effects in Dragonheart are terrible. The effects on Mars Attacks are great, and also there was especially the stuff where they're inside the ship.
Yeah.
You're like, this is 100% CGI.
Yeah.
Which is not a thing that people were doing.
Yeah,
there was a
that's
lot
true.
of
That's
integrating
true.
CGI elements, a couple CGI characters, but you have these long sequences that are like, it's CGI characters in a CGI environment holding CGI props.
Yeah.
Like it's fully animated.
It's terrific.
The quantity of the thing alone should have
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like all those scenes of the alien armies, lined up in formation and everything.
Mhm.
It's so much fun to look at.
It is.
It looks terrific.
It's
It looks
inventive.
terrific.
Like the person
Yes,
turning into a
it's
skeleton
creative.
looks like nothing you've ever
Yes.
seen
Yes.
since.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
No one ever did that effect again.
And
that
I
weird
also
melty sort
think
of thing.
a thing that no one else was able to pull off at that time period where the technology kind of wasn't there, and part of it's the sound effects, which I think are really good in the movie.
They are
Absolutely.
They're great.
You get a real sense of texture and material in this movie.
Yeah, you
like
really
you're
do.
like, I know what kind of rubber their suits are made out of.
Yeah.
I know the squishiness of their brains, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the sequined sort of texture of their capes. Like
Yeah.
you get a sense of like the different sort of textures there. It's very visceral for
Agreed.
how cartoony they are.
What a weird movie.
I love it.
It's a weird, great movie.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do this on the show.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this film.
Oh, I highly
Thumbs
recommend
up.
it. I'm
Yeah.
glad we got you to see it.
Yeah,
What a nice
thank you.
Well, that's the
occasion.
thing,
Thank you.
right?
It's
That
a
we did a
gift. Thank you.
service.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I saw you were doing shows in New York City.
Mhm.
I slid into your DMs
It's true. Slid right in.
He slid.
and I said, "Do you by any chance have any hot takes on Mars Attacks?" Because I knew we didn't have a guest for that
He
one.
pulled a Jerry O'Connell.
But then
It's
the
a
risk
slider.
was, you said, "I haven't even seen it. I'd love the
Sorry.
reason."
Jesus.
I apologize.
Uh,
He follows me on Twitter. I could slide into his DMs and see if he likes the joke.
What if you slid into his DMs and say, like, sorry to be a Carrie War? You get that, of course.
and of course, Carrie Warrer follows Ben on Twitter, so then Ben can slide
We
into
can
Carrie
keep it all
Warrer's
going.
joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry to be a Jonathan Rhys Davies. Was that his name? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a... No, he's John Rhys Davies, right? And then there's
It's John
Jonathan
Rhys Davies.
Myers.
Jonathan Rhys Myers.
Yes,
You're
yes.
right. But
John
you know
and
what?
Jonathan.
the drug actor.
The drug actor. You know what? He is just John. He wasn't Jonathan. Rhys Davies. So yeah. There we go.
He wouldn't get the tattoo. The
I know. I
The
always thought
fellowship
about it.
tattoo.
Fuck that. Not doing
that
it.
is kind of...
Yeah.
It's
man,
weird.
it is weird, right?
Like Ian McKellen did it.
Yeah, everybody except him.
The Queen knighted Ian McKellen. He's very famous.
Yeah.
And you're John Rhys Davis. You're most famous for being the dwarf.
I don't know, guys. I don't know,
Sala.
guys.
Yeah,
Sala.
that's the thing. The reason why
Do
he
you think
didn't
he
get the
had a Sala tattoo?
he's
Yeah.
inked up. Like his whole body
No
is
room.
Sala.
No room.
Spielberg insists.
What if every other film he had done, he had gotten a tattoo for, and he's like, I'm literally just out of real estate.
Maybe the bottom of my foot. Nope.
No.
Shit.
All
No.
I got left are my hands.
Cute
and
idea,
chin
guys.
up.
Can't do that because of acting.
Yeah.
They have to cover it up with makeup or CGI it out.
You know what the flip side of that story is? That the whole main cast of Suicide Squad all got matching Suicide Squad tattoos, and they gave them to each other to be like, this is like a bonding exercise. And Will Smith was like, haha, pass. And they were all like, yeah, Will wouldn't. Like, they tried to present it like the John Rhys Davies thing where they were like, yeah, Will wasn't really a team player. But like now Academy Award nominee Margot Robbie has a misspelled Suicide Squad tattoo that was probably inked by Jai Courtney. Like they all did them for each other.
I'm sorry. This is a sickening story.
Paul
I've
has just
never
been
heard
looking
this
on
before.
in astonishment.
100% true.
They gave each other. They inked each other.
I believe it was SKWAD. And their director.
Oh no! Could you at least say like
Yes,
make
you're
it
right.
very small?
No, they're large. I mean, no, because
Yeah, like you're writing it on a grain of rice.
Yeah.
Like one of those
But here's the great thing: they weren't professional tattoo artists, so they definitely couldn't control
squad.
Oh,
SKWAD.
no.
That was a horrible idea, says Joel Kinnaman. That's a quote.
What? Wait, is he in the movie? What did he play?
He plays like the guy who's
the
like, you
human?
Suicide Squad, you're driving me crazy. I hate it.
Oh, so he's not a member of the squad.
He is.
I mean, he's sort of the leader.
He's their babysitter.
Yeah,
he's the
their
Emilio
babysitter.
Estevez from Mighty Ducks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he get? Was
He
he
got
the
one. He got one. He got one.
And now agrees that it was. Realizes it was a
Everyone
terrible
but Will Smith, who's technically in the squad. Got
Here's the weird thing. Will Smith gave him the
Correct.
tattoo.
Kinnaman. Yeah.
So he'll give you a tattoo.
That looks terrible.
He just literally wrote the
KWAD.
word
No.
squad spelled wrong
Yeah.
No.
on his arm
Why?
in like regular print. Like
I wish that hadn't happened.
Right. I just love like Jonathan Rhys Davies being Jonathan Rhys Davies doing the same thing. John Rhys Davies being like, oh, look, I mean, this movie's probably going to be embarrassing, right? I don't want to have Lord of the Rings on my body for the rest of time.
It's bad enough I agreed to do 3 back to
Right.
I
back.
can't believe it.
Right. And
What,
then like
my whole life is going to be this?
17 years later, the entire cast of Suicide Squad at like a Hilton in like Toronto is like, we're going to want to remember this forever, right?
Oh no.
I'm trying to find who did others, but I can't.
That's really astonishing and upsetting.
They're really bad too. And they all like tell the stories about like we were drinking tequila and we were like, hey, do you know how to work that thing? Probably hurt a lot. Wow. The penmanship is awful.
Because like decent, reputable tattoo artists will not tattoo you if you're drunk.
Correct.
That's what I've heard.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that they'll say, go home and think about this
Yeah,
when
they
you're
don't
sober.
want to deal with you tomorrow being like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is this? Like, they don't want to handle that.
I just love Will Smith being like, this isn't my first fucking movie. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
I've been in some
I've
squads.
done 12-month shoots before.
Whose idea do you think this was? Do you think it was Jared Leto's idea?
Probably. I don't know. Maybe he was like, didn't talk to anyone though and like lived in a broom closet and would only like scream in Esperanto.
I think David Ayer recommended it as a
Oh,
bonding exercise because his whole thing
sure.
is like you got to be in a cage together. You got to
I would just love it if it
perform
was like
surgery
if
on
it was
each
like
other. Yeah.
Adam Beach's idea. If it was like some guy who's in the movie for 5 minutes, he was like,
I feel
no,
like you guys
gotta
are
do it.
You're just saying names of people you went to school with. I don't know who any of these people. Who's Adam Beach? That is vaguely familiar.
He plays Slipknot.
Yeah, Slipknot from Suicide Squad.
right. He does.
Master of Ropes.
Yeah.
Master of Ropes.
He's a rope guy.
His character name is
He's
Slipknot.
all ropes.
He's a master of ropes and cords.
I'm not even trying to be comic book snobby. I've read
Yeah, no,
comic
of
books.
course, of course.
It's like I know comics, but I'm not familiar with
Slipknot is one of the most beloved characters in the history of DC Comics.
Here's the thing that sucks about comics, right? Is that even if you're into them, if you hear them described,
Yes.
it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world.
This movie is so embarrassed of Slipknot that everyone gets an intro, but Slipknot, they're just like, and Slipknot, here he is.
Slipknot's
Right.
here too.
Yeah, right.
The
They
first
literally don't even bother.
3 minutes of Suicide Squad is like musical montage of everyone's
Right,
case
like-
file set to like the worst things I've ever done. Slipknot's the only character they don't introduce. He comes in 45 minutes in, he punches a woman in the face and then dies. And he has a
punches
tattoo
him, and then he's
for
like,
the rest of his life.
He's like, I'm going to Slipknot out of here. And he tries to like rope away and his head explodes.
They reveal
And that's-
it's a bomb in his brain. Truly, he takes out like a grappling gun. He uses ropes to escape, and they execute a hemorrhage,
click,
Right.
bang,
right? Like a computer
He's
hemorrhage.
That's how they control the squad.
Right. He's a plot point. Really.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope he
Wow.
got the fucking tattoo.
I hope like Killer Croc gave it to him or whatever.
It's just like that sounds like the most committed film shoot where it's like Jared Leto's sending you diseases in the mail.
Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Jared Leto
What are you
revived
doing?
smallpox.
Did you get my rat? I'm crazy. Fuck you.
And then it
He
like comes out,
sucks.
everyone's like, it doesn't really make sense.
The movie comes out, they're like, I don't know.
It's hard to follow.
Oh,
Well, this is a great time to announce
What
that,
a
Paul,
downer.
you, of course, are directing Suicide Squad 2.
that's right.
Yep.
Now,
And you're
this
bringing
time,
Slipknot back.
Slipknot comes back. Okay. I don't want to spoil how.
Okay.
That seems like a spoiler, but
It
wait till you
involves
see
ropes.
how
Yeah,
it
but-
happens.
right.
Of course, it involves ropes.
He ropes his way out of hell.
His brain was made of rope. So the hemorrhage couldn't kill him. He just reforms his
Yeah,
brain.
he just got some more ropes.
Yeah.
Stuffed him back in there. Uh-huh.
that's
That's your,
his
that
brain's
was
made
your
of
whole
ropes.
pitch?
That's my whole pitch.
Yeah.
And they were like, fire Mel Gibson. Get this guy.
They were
Good
like,
enough
this
to
is-
get it done. Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson was in talks to direct Suicide Squad 2.
They've gone through 3 different directors.
Did
Seriously?
that movie do well?
Suicide Squad 1? Yeah, it did well.
Did it really?
It made like $800 million worldwide or
man.
whatever.
But I believe strongly it's one of those fool me once movies.
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got everyone to go see it, and they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but we made so much money. It's like, you're not going to get them back a second
Don't
time.
do it, guys. Guys.
I don't-
There's
They've
other
already
things
been
you can
tattooed by Jai Courtney once. You're not going to get them a second time.
I was so turned off by the second Matrix movie that I did not see the third one.
Paul,
because
this is, God, for you to bring that up this late in the episode.
I remember being in line for the second one at the Chinese theater in Hollywood, and somebody saying, a friend of mine was in line with me and said, "Yeah, I hear there's a 20-minute car chase in this movie."
Sure.
I was like, "What? Is that a selling point? I don't want to see a 20-minute car chase."
Paul, do you know that you are
more like
currently
25.
sitting across from a man who for almost 20 years has held the elected position as
Like 15
ambassador
years.
of the
It's
Matrix
15
sequels.
years. I love the Matrix sequels. I love them. You can listen to
The
the
world's
episode.
biggest champion of the
I'm
Matrix
the one who
sequels.
explains that a certain character is actually a login screen. It's a great moment in the podcast. That's right.
Now, is this a theory or this? You know this is
I
true.
know this. I know
Okay.
this is true.
He
I know
watches
this
them
to be
like
true.
once a week.
What happens in the third one? Maybe I did see it.
Third one's like they're
You get
they're
stuck in a subway station.
That is true.
Truly, they're like, you're stuck.
Yeah, the squids invade the big city, and they're in these big mech suits, and they're shooting the squids.
Oh, I don't
and-
think I did see that.
And
then.
like Neo
He's stuck in a
and
subway
Smith have
station with
big
a little
fight in the
girl who's
air.
like a bug. She's like Vanellope in Wreck-It Ralph.
The girl is 2 computer programs have mated and created a new program that serves no purpose. And they're like, what is this thing?
He could do this all day.
I fucking love the
He
Matrix
could do this all
sequel.
day.
Then I have not seen that.
No.
That and
You're like a lot of people. That movie made way less than
right.
Reloaded.
The
Yeah.
third Star Wars prequel I have not seen.
Third
Revenge of the
Star-
Sith?
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the
Worst
Sith.
one.
Is it the worst
It
one?
is the worst one.
In our opinion.
Is it really?
It is.
A lot
It
of
is.
people
Holy
think
moly.
don't think that's true, but
And those
it
people
is.
are wrong.
They're
Every single one of them is wrong.
Wow.
Phantom Menace is the best of the
Phantom
prequels.
Menace, they get worse. Each one is worse than the last.
I've almost seen it so many times, and then at the last minute, I'm like, I know I'm not going to like
Yeah.
this.
No.
Why am I going to watch this?
You won't like it.
Attack of Clones is a mess, but it's at least idiosyncratic.
Sure.
Right.
Revenge of the Sith is him doing everything he thinks he should be doing and
Right.
needs to
It's
do.
him tying
and
it
it feels
all up.
kind of lifeless.
Right.
And he's like, and
Yeah.
seeing now it all makes sense. And you're like, buddy, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Natalie Portman dies of a broken heart during childbirth.
That's true. She does.
So it wasn't childbirth that killed her. It was a
No.
broken
And there's
heart.
a
The doctor,
scene
the
where
robot
he's
doctor makes that very clear.
there's a scene where he's
Yes.
force choking her, and you're like, oh, this is how it happens. This is the first time he's learned the force
No.
choke.
Right.
He kills her. That's what sort of haunts him in his soul.
Right.
And it's like, no, she recovered from that, but her heart did not. She's losing the will to live.
I didn't realize he was a domestic abuser.
Yep. That
the
happens
movie.
in that movie.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right.
Darth Vader. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's not a great guy.
Darth Vader, a jerk. Big jerk.
He's a big jerk.
God, the alt-right's going to go after you online.
Shit.
We should cut that out.
All right.
Everyone should listen to Spontaneous Nation. Everyone should
Thank
listen
you.
to Freedom.
Freedom
If anyone-
is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
the rules.
Spontaneous Nation is over by this point. But
Really?
you can
Fully
still,
over forever?
Full by this. Well,
Wow.
I never say forever on anything, but
Okay.
I tend to not
So you're
revisit
saying
things.
the Pod F Tomcast is coming back?
I've maintained that.
I've been refreshing my feed for 6 years.
I've still got the weird little iPod man with the
Absolutely.
mustache.
Absolutely. But Freedom, yes.
Is there going to be more Freedom? Will there be a second season of Freedom?
Yes, there will be. We're trying to figure out now when to get together, but we love doing the show.
Freedom is so much fun.
Thank you. It's really it's been a joy in my life to do.
Yeah.
To hang out with those guys and just talk.
And just talk.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's weird to have known, especially Scott, for as long as I've known him, and still learning things.
Well, because it's like he doesn't get to be a regular person.
That's true. Yeah. But I spend a lot of time.
Oh, sure, right. You're spending more time with them than podcast listeners. Yes.
Yeah, but it really is like it's a real treat, and I'm glad that people have responded to it so much. It's a throwback podcast in many ways, but I'm glad that people are enjoying it. Yeah.
It is also weird.
Wait, you don't solve any crimes?
None. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. But
we did that.
Green River Killer has been captured.
We in our first couple episodes, in our first couple episodes, totally by mistake, we solved the serial murder.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh.
And these other fools are going out about like they don't know who did it. Anon and Jay together.
Have you talked to the serial people?
Not them directly.
You should tell them.
Yeah,
we've been
trying to book Sir.
Send them a link to the episode.
Yeah, that's what I'll do to serial@npr.com.
I think Sarah Koenig's going to do our Alice in Wonderland episode.
Let's have her on.
Yeah.
Great flat ending for the episode.
There we go. And like
Sarah
the Miracle in the
Koenig
Hudson.
joke.
It's like we had to get there. We had to get to just a dead stop.
It's a forced water landing.
We flirted
baby.
with it a couple times.
We had a couple real high points we could have gone out on.
All right. Thank you for doing the show, Paul.
Thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you for having. Can I do a plug?
Of course, yes.
Is the date you told me? Is
February.
that a real date?
February of 2019.
I can give you the exact date if you
Paul,
want
I
to.
hope you're going to plug my birthday. I hope your plug is my birthday.
Oh,
No
February
surprise.
10th.
Surprises ruined.
Just like a week away from my birthday.
Don't forget that in 1 week's time, Griffin celebrates another year on planet Earth.
Around the sun.
And you can come see if at the Vancouver Just for Laughs Festival.
Sure.
I will be doing another two-man improv show with Mark Evan Jackson, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Tompkins. We did it. This will be our third time doing it.
Wow.
This will be our third time doing it. We did it the first time in Toronto last year, and then we just did it in Detroit in January, and now we're going back to Canada, Vancouver. That is happening. I know when it's happening, and
we all
am
know
not
when it's
looking it up.
happening.
I am building the suspense by letting you know exactly the date. Don't you want to know?
Very
I
close to
know
my
you
birthday.
do.
It's sort of in that
Wait till you
neighborhood.
find out what the date is. It's February 17th.
Sure.
February 17th.
You have 1 week to get your ass to Vancouver.
You have 1 week to get your tickets, get everything together, and do come out and see that show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I promise.
That sounds lovely. And you're always worth
He's a very
seeing
funny
live in any form.
Absolutely.
Any type of performance. You're one of the best in the biz.
Thanks, man.
It's a real honor and a privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. It was really a thrill
I
to
hope
be
you
here.
had fun. Yes.
I had a ball.
That's it.
and now
I just extended my arms in the
batting
air.
the microphone away.
I can tell you I do that a lot.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media, Joe Bowen, Pat Rollins for our artwork. Thanks to Lainey Montgomery for our theme song. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. TeePublic for some real nerdy merchandise. And as always, never get a Suicide Squad tattoo.